right here. Definitely we are here at the Euroforest Fair, which is absolutely fantastic. It is the host here at Saint-Bonnet-du-Joux. I tried to...
Say that again twice fast.
Saint-Bonnet-du-Joux.
Saint-Bonnet-du-Joux.
Yeah, at the Euroforest Fair, it's the STIHL Timbersports French National Pro Championships coming up. You will see 12 athletes up on stage. You will see hundreds of enthusiastic fans in front of stage. And next to the stage, our very own, the one and only Mr. Troy Mannering. Nice to have you here.
Nice to be back.
I mean, you can hear the noise. Did you expect something like this on a Saturday afternoon? To be honest, I didn't.
Well, it was quite the trip to get here, to be honest with you, but we're here. I'm excited. It's going to be the best of the French here on stage today with axe and saw in hand. We've got a huge audience behind us. We already heard them screaming a little bit. They're super excited. Maybe some of the back don't understand what's really going on, but they will soon enough, and they're going to have a ball because the action here is going to be hot, furious, and fast on the stage here for the STIHL Timbersports.
Let's go on stage and find out everything that's going to be happening here, and of course meet the athletes.
Suivi de Julien Meyer du club Lumberjack d'Alsace de Sainte-Croix-aux-Mines.
Mon coéquipier du club du cercle Saint-Nicolas de Chirac, Geoffrey Dair.
On ajoute un garçon venu du cercle Saint-Nicolas de Chirac. Le leader du club, c'est Élie Pagin.
Allez, c'est le seul ici aujourd'hui à avoir sa première finale. Il a été qualifié hier, on le félicite, Corentin Godin.
Oh, somebody brought a few fans along, huh? How about that?
It seems like it. We just saw Élie Pagin go up on stage there, and we're getting to meet each of our athletes individually as they come up on stage and greet our two judges that will also be on stage, Radu Kazaku and Bart Janssen. This is really the cream of the crop of the French STIHL Timbersports. Also, what's one way of putting it? I mean, really, they are the best of the best in STIHL Timbersports for France, and they're going to be up there battling on stage. There's one man that a lot of people are going to have their eyes clearly focused on. That's Pierre-Puy Barret.
Definitely.
He's been the reigning French champion for like 55 years or something like that. It's ridiculous how long he's won this event.
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. But Guillaume Mort has really been putting his foot into the dirt, as we say.
Stepping up his game.
He's been really stepping up his game. A couple of other guys that are interesting to note. Christophe Leroux has always kind of been in the mix. Cyril Marchal, I mean, he's been around forever and ever, it feels like. Or has he? That's the question. We just talked about Élie Pagin, who was up on stage. So, I mean, we're going to see a lot of great battles going on here today. We have 6 disciplines that are happening all day long. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a busy, busy day on stage.
And of course, they all want to collect points. You know,
yes.
you want to be part of Stuttgart, of the World Championships, and the European ranking makes it possible. We have to be in the top 8. So,
yes. Yeah, and it's not just about, you know, you won your country, so you can go. You have to qualify among the fastest top 8 in all of Europe. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. Pierre-Puy Barret, who's coming on stage right now, has been there pretty much every single year for the last 10 years, I believe. Nobody has touched him yet. Interesting character, Pierre-Puy Barret. He always comes across as very officious and very serious and you know, he's got that look about him.
A bit like you, Troy, a bit like you.
Yeah, okay, a little bit bigger than me though. But he's actually a really funny guy in the background. There's a few guys that come across that way, but it's really nice being around them, and they're super fun guys.
Absolutely, and I mean, isn't that enjoyable, hearing and seeing the crowd behind us?
Yes.
They're really getting behind the heroes here.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it, this is the creme de la creme of the French STIHL Timbersports athletes.
Appropriately said, creme de la creme.
Yes, thank you so much. And that, of course, means we need to talk about the format. You mentioned the 6 disciplines, but there's more to it. You know, 12 athletes starting out, but we're not going to end up with 12, are we?
No, we're not. So I guess we kind of need to find out what the format is all about here at the French Nationals. Why don't we do that right now? The STIHL Timbersports individual competition. In the first round, all athletes compete in 3 disciplines: the underhand chop, the stock saw, and the standing block chop. The times achieved will be converted into points upon completion of each discipline. In round 1, a difference of 1 point applies in each discipline, thus the fastest athlete received 12 points and the slowest only 1 point. Any rule infraction will result in a disqualification, and the athlete will receive 0 points for that discipline. At the end of the first round, the athletes with the lowest scores are eliminated. Only 8 athletes make it to the second round. In this second round, the remaining athletes compete in the single buck and the springboard for increased scores. With 2 points difference between placings, the fastest athlete now receives 16 points and the slowest receives 2. The 2 athletes with the lowest total points are eliminated at the end of round 2. Only the top 6 reach the third round. In the third round, anything is still possible in the hot saw, as an increased score interval of 3 points applies in this final round. The fastest athlete can score up to 18 points at the hot saw, the slowest only 3 points. The athlete who manages to achieve the highest total score across all 3 rounds is the new champion.
Au troisième tour, on regarde que les 6 meilleurs et les points sont triplés. Donc tout peut encore changer lors de la dernière partie.
Sounds good to me. Try the underhand chop. That's our first discipline.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's going to be a hard one for these guys as well. But the wood for the last couple of weeks to a month has been cutting really, really well. It's cured perfectly, so we're looking forward to maybe some good times here.
Let's take a closer look at the tool and, of course, the discipline itself.
The axes used in timber sports definitely can't be bought at your local hardware store. Made from special steel, the blade is hand-sanded with an angle of 13 to 16 degrees. It's custom-built and carefully adjusted for each competition. The weight is around 3 kilos, and it's about 80 centimeters long. The blade is so sharp that you could shave with it. Underhand chop. In the past, the underhand chop technique was used to split logs. Standing on a horizontally anchored block, the athletes cut through a 32-centimeter log. The block has to be worked from both sides.
On a l'équipe décidée à vous aider à comprendre ce sport. Il va falloir couper la bille de bois sous les pieds par le milieu.
Beautiful.
Look at that
scenery.
audience.
I love it. And to be honest, this still scares me, the axe. I hope it doesn't too for our athletes here on the underhand chop, starting with Leroux against Courteau, Prieur against Poisson. Then we have Marchal against Gaudin, Meurice against Paquin, Eder against Mayer, and then Moore against Puy-Barré. Of course, that is the big climax here in the underhand chop. And we're getting ready for the first heat.
Yeah, first heat's coming up with Christophe Leroux and Adrien Courteau. We should also mention that these guys are, excuse me, going up on stage head-to-head with each other, but they're not working in a knockout situation. So they are doing their best to get the fastest possible time on these different disciplines, and then those times will be calculated, as we heard in our description earlier on, to the best number of points for the fastest times, and then those guys will move on. We have 3 rounds, or 3 disciplines in the first round with the underhand chop, axe-tion, standing block chop. Then we move on to single block and springboard in the second round, and then the big one at the end, the hot saw. And here we go with our first heat.
Okay, athletes
Time to
ready.
get the first points.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So you got to have really good timing on the start here, and both of these guys look like they had really nice starts. Courteau and Leroux cutting very well in sync with each other. Christophe Leroux on stand 1. When we look at it from the audience perspective, he'll be on the left-hand side of your screen. Adrien Courteau on the right-hand side. And there we see already moving on to the other side of his block, Courteau looking very good. Leroux on the side, on the second side, just passing the 26-second mark. These aren't going to be the fastest times. These will be the first times to get in the books. And it's Courteau getting there. Oh, very nicely done with a personal best, 32 seconds. Leroux struggling on that second side, just getting around the 40-second mark. They do have a time limit where they have to cut through those blocks, but that is seldom stepped past by the pro-level athletes at a 46.15 for Leroux, and he's going to look at that one on the drawing board later on with some video review for sure.
And how beautiful is it to start into the contest with a personal best? That's very enjoyable.
Yeah, we always like seeing those personal bests fall because we know that means that there's been improvement by the athlete and also in the wood.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
All right, Radu Kazaku giving us the thumbs up as both cuts are good. The only thing that could happen here is that we have a jump start that counts as a disqualification, or if the athlete cuts into the foothold of the block that he's standing on, that also counts as a disqualification, or if the athlete did not cut completely through. You'll see the judges checking these blocks before we go to the decision zone, but you can see here, these are really beautiful drivers from Adrien Courteau on the second side of his block. There we see Leroux struggling a little bit on his as he's trying to get through there, but Courteau with some fantastic drivers. And there's that final one, and that's a clearly decisive block falling over and a clear cut through. Very nicely done.
And he
there as well.
immediately knows himself.
Yeah.
He's done good.
These guys really do have a good feel for it. They know when they've had a good cut. They know when they've had a good time.
That's when they immediately turn around, take a look at the time. We've got our next heat coming up, of course, is Anthony Prieur and Pierre-Louis Poiseau. Yeah, doing my best with the pronunciation.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're killing it today. So Anthony Prieur and Pierre-Louis Poiseau. We're going to see Pierre-Louis Poiseau on the far side of the stage there. There's Anthony Prieur getting ready. Anthony clearly has his fan club out in there. We can hear them screaming behind us as we turn around and look at the people. It is literally a sea of hats out here in the sunshine.
Okay, athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Fantastic start for both of the guys. Poisseau with a nice first driver, chipping out some big pieces there.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
Prieur doing the same though. Prieur seems to be picking up the pace, although he did get a bit sticky on those last two drivers. Let's see who's going to move over to the other side first. Wow, huge sticky one for Prieur there. Poisseau has now moved over to the other side. Oh, he took a long time to aim that axe, and it gave Prieur a chance to catch up, but Poisseau is about a half driver ahead. Prieur digging in deep now to try and get those chips out. Big one flew for Poisseau there. That's beautiful to see that stuff getting out of the way. They want to have accurate, clean cuts. They don't want to be cutting new material on this backside. Looks like we might have some halfway decent times here, although they are a little bit slower.
Still possible for both of them.
And it is a personal best on both sides for Prieur and Poisseau.
Yes,
nicely
sir.
done. Good call.
Bit of luck
Don't leave me
there.
hanging.
47-19
So that was a couple
Impressive.
of good cuts. Let's see what Radu Kazaku says when they both go to the decision zone here at the front of stage.
Alors, 47-98 pour Pierre-Louis Poiseau et 46-93.
There he is. He's coming back now.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
Ça le fait, ça le fait. C'est bon pour ce
Radu Kazaku is taking on a little bit of the personality of Bart Janssen with his, okay, ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good. He doesn't give anything away. You know, it could be a disqualification. Who knows? So I like it. But you can see the beautiful close-ups there on that one camera angle. And here, that took a while for him to aim that axe over there on the far side of the stage.
Oh, imagine would have been possible without the mistake.
Yeah, Pierre-Louis Poisseau, he did. I mean, he almost seemed like he was a little off balance, and it was important for him to take that time. But the really, you know, it's practice and timing. Getting over onto that other side as quickly as possible and having a good solid stand before you drive that axe in is very important.
Beautiful pictures that we're getting delivered here in those slow motions, and I mean that was just 2 heats, you know, and already everybody seems to be on fire. A lot of people here have been asking me, you know, we've been told, you know, it's the original extreme sports. Where does timber sports come from? Can you tell me, or shall we watch a movie?
I'd say we watch the movie because, I mean, I could blab on all day about where it came from, but I'd probably be
I know,
telling
we
you
need
porky
to keep
pies.
it short. Take a look and enjoy.
Woodsman who can cut down a tree more easily than most people can chop one up. When it really comes to tackling large lumps, you can't beat the men of the forestry companies. An axeman's gathering.
Look at this. Korek is playing a great game of catch-up.
Well, we've got Marshall et Gaudin coming up, and I've got this down here. Corentin Gaudin is 27, runner-up of the qualification, so he's definitely one to watch because he knows what to expect now, but he's only 27, so he only came from the rookies.
Yeah, I mean, he's a young guy still. He's got plenty of potential, and, you know, the runner-up is never a bad position to be in because that means that you're right there with the best in the business as far as your nation is concerned. A lot of these nations are going to be battling hard, like we mentioned off the start of the show, to try and get among the top 8 of the Europeans. And there's a cameraman just walked in front of our lens.
Why not?
It's something that doesn't happen very often, but why not?
Well, maybe he wants to take pictures, and I can truly understand there's so much going on. And coming back to that 27-year-old Gaudin, I think he brought a lot of fans because he's very motivated. And, you know, like I mentioned before, he's not been with the pros for too long, but in the qualification, he reached the 2nd position. So, you know, maybe he's one of the big surprises of today. So I'm very much looking forward to the next heat.
I wouldn't want to call him a black sheep or anything like that, but it might be interesting to see how he fares here. Yeah, I'm very much interested in this 2nd heat, especially the way the wood's been cutting. We've had 3 personal bests already today. We saw an amazing weekend in Rotterdam where records were falling like flies on a blue light. It was crazy. We saw the same thing happen in Great Britain last weekend. It's been like bananas how good the wood's been cutting. So I think, you know, once we get into the next couple of heats, we're going to see some interesting times.
So back to stage, back to the competition. Here's heat number 3, Cyril Marshall against Corentin Gaudin. But look at the personal best from Marshall. So, I mean, Gaudin would be the big surprise if he gets to win this heat.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you know, Cyril Marshall, he's got a ton of experience. He knows exactly what he needs to do on stage.
Ready.
Stand
Corentin
to your
Gaudin.
timber.
Curious.
3, 2, 1, go!
So we have Corentin Gaudin right there on screen. Close to you, Cyril Marshall on the far side. Both of them chipping out really nicely. Keeping a close eye on those cuts there. Now Gaudin.
Big pieces of wood flying around.
Interesting. That's Cyril Marshall. So that's a little bit inaccurate on those drivers on that one right side there. Now he's moving over to the other side of his block. Gaudin could potentially catch up with him here if he keeps those drivers nice and accurate. You want to try and keep them on that same slice wall that you've made on each side, and that means you're going to be cutting out that big chip a lot faster than if you have to start cutting new material. Gaudin looking pretty good though as he gets a bit of a sticky axe there. Marshall just getting into the 43-second mark, both of these guys. So it seems like Marshall's got it. Gaudin not that far away from getting through there. Oh, he steps down. He's got to be careful there. He doesn't want to swing that axe well. He's got a foot on the ground. He's got a sticky side here.
Feeling the pressure
giving him trouble. And he's feeling that pressure, but he should be through about 1 or 2 drivers more here.
Come on.
Oh, he keeps putting his foot down. That's killing his time so badly. And it's so much about the position on the block. So what I'm seeing there is he had his tippy toes more or less on the block. He should have been more on the arches of his feet there. And oh, we have a review in place here as we might have a cut foothold. So if we do, it looks like that's what they're looking at. That if that's a cut foothold, that means for Cyril Marshall, that would be a DQ. Let's see what the end result is when our judges give us the final verdict at the front of the stage.
And Marshall, he's been competing since 2005, so he knows exactly what he's not allowed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, I mean, I did see on the right-hand side of the block, which is the side that they're looking at right now, when he was cutting his first side, he was a little bit inaccurate because you can see a couple of step marks. Maybe we'll get a chance to see that in a replay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
Oh, yes, that's what we like to hear. And the crowd behind us. Wow.
A breath of relief for Cyril Marshall because it was very close there on that one side. It looked like a cut foothold. Let's take a look back at this again here. So here the guys started really, really well. Some nice big drivers. What we did see from Gaudin was a couple of really sticky axes. Now here we see Marshall cutting a little bit inaccurately on that first side. You can see on that one wall left side of his block, he's clean and smooth, but on the second wall he had a couple of steps going in. So that means he's cutting new material each time. Now as Gaudin went to the other side of his block, there's Marshall's final driver. Stumbles a little bit getting down, but he managed to stay on his feet. And you can see here, he's on his tippy toes almost on the block, and each time he takes a driver,
right. I didn't notice.
He didn't have the stability that he needed. So each time he took a driver, he was pushing himself back with his toes.
And immediately we go over to the next heats. Alexandre Meurice against Elie Pagin.
Alexander
best-
Maurice has been doing this a long
close
time
together,
as
yeah.
well, and he's got a great personal best. Looking very, very solid, 27-22. Elie Pagin with a 30-20, so he's not far off the mark. So if he can have a good cut today, we've seen Elie Pagin do very well in the past, so he just needs to throw down a little bit in this discipline, and he'll be right there.
And look at the focus in his face.
Yeah. These guys are up on stage, and I mean, they'll tell you that the energy from the crowd helps them, but they're not hearing the crowd, they're not seeing the crowd, they're just focused on their block. They can feel the vibe, though, for sure.
Oh, nice.
Sun's
Steel
out,
timber
guns out.
sports.
I like
Tattoo,
that tattoo.
Okay, athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
In sync with each other on those first few drivers. However, Alexander Maurice really going for it with pace. He's got that axe moving quickly.
Oh,
Elie
the force,
Pagin,
the
oh my
road.
goodness, over to the other side inside of 12 seconds. This is going to be a great time for Maurice. And a big hop by Pagin to get to the other side to try and keep up with the vet. Elie Pagin, Alexander Maurice should be there any second now. It looks like he's got a bit of a tight side, but he's through with a personal best. 26-76, a fantastic cut for Maurice. Pagin, oh, he's got a hard side here as he's getting really weird angles going in there, trying to get through there. Trying to wedge out some of that wood and get that split, and he's got it. One more to do it, 46-48. Elie's not going to be happy with that cut at all. You could see him already swearing under his breath.
I thought exactly the same.
What a cut by Alexander Maurice.
And if that time stays, that's 3.5 seconds faster than his personal best, so that's impressive.
Exactly, and he is at the top of the underhand chop results at the moment with Adrien
ladies and
Coteau
gentlemen,
in second
both
place
cuts
and
are
Cyril
good.
Marchal
Which
sitting
is
third.
even more important. It's absolutely right.
Et donc 31-90 paraît. Le nouveau meilleur temps à battre, c'est 26-47. Alexandre Meurice.
And there you can see our crew going up on stage to change the blocks. They do such a great job up there to get that stage ready for the next set of heats.
Absolutely.
2 more heats still to go, and taking a look at these slow-mos here. Some really nice cuts from both of these guys. You can see the accuracy difference in these cuts here. They're really
Beautiful
close to
shots.
the wall, yeah? But that was
Wow.
just a fantastic set of cuts from Alexander Maurice. He was over to the other side inside of 12 seconds. That was a beautiful transition for him as well. I loved how Elie Pagin jumped over to the other side of his block instead of kind of gingerly stepping over. He wasn't holding anything back in that one. Unfortunately, the second side of his block was just a little bit slower for him, so he's going to have to go back to the drawing board and see what was it that was bothering him on that side. Was it the deeper wedge or the wider angle? Or
Well,
there's
but it
going to be
felt
some
like
work
a
there.
ballerina with an axe, you know, jumping, jumping over there. Beautiful stuff. And we've talked a lot about the wood. You know, you were talking about Rotterdam and personal bests and world records coming. We've seen some personal bests already today. What about the wood? What makes the wood so special? What makes it different? What makes it fair at the end of the day?
Well, this wood is competition wood. It's not like they've just gone out into the forest, cut down a couple of trees, stripped the bark off, and put them on a block
Au
here for these
contraire,
guys to
monsieur, au
cut.
contraire.
No, that's not
Ce
it
n'est
at
pas
all.
possible.
No, this is all fairly sourced wood. This is wood that's and these athletes draw from, it's like a lottery draw to get their block. So it's not like somebody's handing them a block saying, here you go, cut this please. They have to draw to get the wood for each of the different disciplines here.
And while the crowd is going crazy behind us because we're giving away some Steel Timber Sports caps, we'll tell you more about the wood in a clip that's coming up right now. Enjoy.
STIHL Timbersports is an international extreme sports competition series featuring 6 disciplines: 3 chopping and 3 sawing. We have a premier competition, we need premier wood. The biggest challenges that I face as part of my role is to ensure that our competitions are supplied with the highest quality wood.
Each individual tree is examined for its conformation before processing. We need to make it fair for all athletes. So we are selecting different sections of the trees to use for each of our specific disciplines.
Once the trees are felled, extracted and transported to our facilities, we measure, mark and then cut the wood into sized blocks. We then peel the blocks ready for competition. After careful selection, the blocks then leave our yard and are distributed internationally to our STIHL TIMBERSPORTS competitions.
So time for heat number 5. Geoffrey Eder against Julien Meyer.
You mean Julian Meyer? North American. Not.
Almost.
Geoffrey Eder, Julian Meyer.
Already in position, ready to go.
King Joffrey on the block.
Personal best from Meyer, 30.43.
Okay.
From Eder, 33.23. So not too far off
to
these
your
two guys.
timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, great start.
Meyer up close here. Nice start for him right away with some good chips out. There's Eder on the other side of the stage getting some, wow, nice chips out there. Question is, which one of these two guys is going to go over to the other side first? I'm going to throw my money at Eder. Oh, there you go. I said it just as he's turning around, so that's a bit of a cheat, right? Yeah, this is a good heat between these two guys right now. And like I said, it's all about the time, so these guys pushing each other is also a good thing. You can see that block there, it's a bit steppy, right? But it's not too bad. It's, you know, he's cutting halfway decent as far as accuracy is concerned. Let's see if he can get through there fairly quickly. Who's going to get it? It's coming close for both of them by the looks of it. Small adjustments by the axe, getting down low cuts there for Julian Meyer.
Meyer or Eder,
oh, he's right there. Come on, who's going to get it? 42.82, 49.82, and 49.99, but he had to go back and finish it off. So that's going to add a little bit more time. I think it probably will go up to like 51 or 52. Boy, these guys are working hard up there today.
But that's what I love about STIHL TIMBERSPORTS. You know, it has improved so much over the last few years, and also, you know, these small details with the video judges, you know, being able to take care of perfect timing so that no second is lost somewhere. That's brilliant.
There'll also be readjustments of the times and so on.
Ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
Yeah, there you see.
Officials have, just like you said,
jumped up to 52.91 because he just didn't have it through, and he only noticed it late and put the axe through to make sure that it was a fair cut. The worst thing is to get a DQ in this situation because there are no points for DQ.
So they are ending up at position 8 and 9 after 5 heats. Of course, one more heat to come, and that includes the man to watch, the man to beat.
Well, the question is now, which of these two men that are coming up will be the man to beat? Guillaume Mort has been really putting the pins to Pierre Pouille-Barré in the last few competitions, so it may be his weekend, who knows? And meanwhile, we're seeing these slow-mos from these last two guys, Geoffrey Eder and Julien Meyer. Just a really, really nice heat there, and a nice swing through from both of these guys. A little bit of a sketchy step off and having to step back up by Geoffrey Eder, and that caused him there. You can see right there, he stepped down onto one of the chips on the ground, so that's a dangerous situation, and because he had to balance himself, make sure he didn't twist his ankle, then get back up, that caused him the time that went up from 49.99 to 52 and change.
I saw 2 or 3 rookies slip today in the rookie competition.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Absolutely dangerous. So you mentioned it, Guillaume Mort against Pierre Pouille-Barré. That's the 2 men to watch. Probably, not only probably, the 2 favorites for today coming up in this final heat of the underhand chop. So that's the moment most of us have been waiting for.
I mean, Pouille-Barré is an absolute talent. He is a machine. He's a beast on stage. The national record is his with 16 and 77, I think, is his fastest time. 16:79. Yeah, thank you. And I mean, he is just an incredible athlete, and he has been dominant in this sport in France for years and years and years, and he has been among the top 5 athletes in the world for a long time. Let's see if Guillaume Mort can keep up with him today.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So look at the speed that Pierre Pouille-Barré gets into it right away. Guillaume Mort doing this very same thing, though, with quick axe movement. Very, very quick repetitions on the drivers. But look how accurate those are from Pouille-Barré. Fantastic. They're both over to the other side. They're pushing each other hard here.
And the crowd really getting into it now as well.
And the crowd is right into it. Guillaume Mort looking very good. Pierre Pouille-Barré going for a wider cut on the second side. Pierre Pouille-Barré close to being through. But Guillaume Mort's got himself a personal best. And look at how happy he is. 25-34 for Guillaume Mort, excuse me, and Pierre Pouille-Barré unbelievably beaten by Guillaume Mort here. And Guillaume Mort takes the fastest time of the day and a personal best down, with Pierre Pouille-Barré getting a 28.80 Unbelievable reaction by him afterwards. He looked around, but he knew he had it right away. He didn't even need to take a look at the clock. He went through there, and that axe went up in the air, and he was cheering immediately.
Of course, you know when you beat Puberé, you know it's a good time.
You know
but that
when
is
you beat
fantastic.
Puberé, you've got a good time.
Wow.
Both cuts are good. So Guillaume Moore in first place. Look at that. Interesting position for Pierre Puberé in one of the better disciplines that he has in third place in underhand chop. Alexander Maurice sitting in second place at the moment, but Guillaume Moore, what a fantastic effort. Look at these guys though going at it. That's Puberé, I believe, yeah. He's got those beautiful cuts on the side, so accurate. Guillaume Moore was actually on the second side after Puberé, but he just was so quick with that axe, throwing down that Australian style.
Oh, lovely reaction,
That was amazing. And
for a moment, I thought he was going to throw the axe into the crowd.
I know, he had really a little bit of a sketchy grip on that handle. All right.
So there's the points for the underhand chop, and that is a bit of a surprise. Moore taking 12, Maurice 11, and Puberé only 10. Let's call it only 10 because we know he is absolutely fantastic in a lot of the competitions. I don't know how many national records does he have. You were telling me before. 5 of 6.
5 of 6 or 5 of 7 actually. There's 2 that are legacy records. That one is owned by him and one
but I mean
another.
that's incredible.
Insane. I mean,
so you can count on this man and any discipline to come back.
And I do believe you mentioned this earlier. He did have a world record in the single buck for a short time. I think it lasted for 10 minutes or something like that. So, but what an absolutely fantastic heat by Guillaume Moore. I mean, we've seen this guy coming and coming and coming, and slowly been improving. And last year at the French Championships, we saw a glimpse of where he's at, and this year already, first discipline, he's got himself a full pull of 12 points going into the next discipline, which is the stock saw.
Standing tall, yeah.
So he's going to have that confidence on his side as well. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this plays out.
You mentioned we had the axe first, now we're going to go and see the stock saw, but we can already hear some noise, but that's just an ordinary chainsaw that you can buy at the shop, right?
Yeah, nothing special about this one aside from the fact that it's a steel product. It is the MS661 stock saw. It's basically the same saw that you can buy off of the shelf at your local steel dealership. There's no changes to the bar, no changes to the blade, or the chain, I should say, and no adaptations or anything funny with the motor. I mean,
just a fantastic product.
These are workhorse saws that are basically used in everyday forestry work and at home in the garden if you're, you know, like a motorhead. So yeah, I mean, that's, and these guys just have to, this isn't about strength or anything. We'll talk about it as we go on, but it's not really about strength. It's not about the power. It's about reading the machine and knowing the machine and feeling the vibrations and hearing it. Even though you've got to wear earmuffs, you still hear it and feel it.
Feel the wood.
Feel the wood, exactly.
And all you need to know about the discipline and, of course, the tool is coming up right now.
The STIHL MS661CM stock saw is used in STIHL Timbersports as the ultimate test of operator's skill. Designed for the toughest jobs in forestry, it produces approximately 7.3 horsepower, has a displacement of 91.1 cc, and weighs 7.4 kilograms. To ensure evenly and fairly matched saws, professional steel technicians prepare and test the saws before each competition. Stock saw. After the starting shot, the contestants have to cut 2 wooden discs, so-called cookies, within a 10-centimeter mark, one downward and one upward. The attempt is only valid when both discs have been cut off completely and within the marks.
So let's get ready for the first heat, and that, of course, is a big one. Maurice against Puberé. Personal best 10.08 and 9.95. Very close to the world record. That's 8.51. So that first heat is really going to be a cracker, followed by Prieur against Pagin, Meyer against Eder, Leroux against Gaudin, Poiseau against Marshall, and then Courtauld taking on Moore, the leader at the moment after the first discipline. As you can see, the stage is ready. The crowd crowd is ready. And here comes heat number 1. 110 Ks against 75. Bit like you against me.
It doesn't make a difference. And I just have to point out, nothing to do with timber sports at all, but the biggest fly I've ever seen in the world just landed on the floor in front of me and is staring at me funny. All right,
wow.
so it's huge. All right, so that being said, we've got a couple of big athletes coming up on stage, or at least one of the two of them is. Alexander Maurice is the slighter of the two as he gets ready to go. Pierre Puy-Barré, he's been down this road many a time before. And as I was saying prior, it's very important to feel and really know the machine. If you push too hard on it, that chain is going to slow down. It's going to stop. It's going to stall. It'll bog the engine down. You'll hear it go. Yeah, so you want to try and avoid that. You want to have a nice buttery smooth cut where that chain is completely working at full capacity and cutting nice and efficiently through the wood. This is also a hot start, so you see the guys start their saws, warm them up, and then they'll put them on those pads on the floor.
Ready.
And then they'll get ready to go.
To your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Very nice start from both of them. Puy-Barré, he's so seasoned, he knows this very well, but he's got a thick old piece of wood there. Puy-Barré leading heavily into that second cut. He should be quick, but Maurice is coming fast, and he's right there. Puy-Barré with a 12:09, Maurice with a 12:73.
Wow.
Very nice times.
Close finish.
Nice time. I'm not going to say those are super fast, but they're acceptable times under the circumstances for sure.
Let's see if those times get corrected in a way or another.
Interesting to see the different styles on that upcut as well. So we'll take a look at that in the slow-mo.
Cuts are good.
So Puy-Barré 11.9, Maurice 12.62.
Now, not to get confused by our graphics that comes up on stage or on the screen there for our audience members that are watching on the stream today. The orange number indicates the number of the overall rankings, but because these guys are the first to compete, their points go automatically into the overall rankings, so you'll see their standings right there right away.
Thanks for mentioning, yes.
And you can see that's a really nice thin cookie on that upcut from Pierre Puy-Barré, and you can see his angle was a lot deeper. He was leaning into the saw, whereas Alexander Maurice, he also had a nice thin cookie, but he was more leaning back and trying to pull the saw up through. So two different styles, both effective.
I think Puy-Barré can help himself with his strong arms on those last centimeters going up.
Well, it's funny, you know, you'd say it's your strong arms, but you do have to have, you know, you can have that tennis arm, that muscle on the lower bottom part of the arm, but if the muscle is there on the top, you can't pull the saw up with good power. So, but it really is, it's about technique on these saws.
Well, best of luck to the next heat. Anthony Prieur against Élie Bargin. 42 years of age against 41 years of age. They've known each other for quite some time now. And do you feel that's an advantage or a disadvantage to go into this duel?
Well, that's a good question, actually, because I'm sure that these guys, you know, they all stand back there in the back paddocks here, and they're helping each other, and they're trying to make sure each other progress to the next level and really improve. These guys have been at it for a long time. They kind of know each other really well. Advantage and disadvantage. You know the strengths and the weaknesses of the other guys, so you just have to see how you're going to play it.
And especially as you're going against time, like you mentioned in the beginning, it's not just, you know, man against man, but you want to have the best time. You want to make sure you collect points and make it to the next round at the end of the day. Yeah. That's starting 12, heading over to 8, and then that's the final decision. We're down to 6 athletes, so that's what you need to do. That's where you need to get to be able to be up on the podium.
Absolutely. Now, tail of the tape has advantage for Élie Bargin.
Stand to your timber.
I wouldn't call him a master, but he's quite adept with the saw in hand. Here we go.
Go!
Nice thin cookie to start there, both of them. Oh, great transition by Prieur. It's a pretty thick one on the second one, though. And he's got himself a good cut that's just slightly ahead of Pagan, a personal best of 12.72. Pagan with a 13.05, that's 2 seconds and change off his best time.
Not bad at all.
So what I'm seeing here today, ooh, that came close to the line on the transition to the upcut. That was real close.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, those cuts are good.
Something that you have to be careful of in this discipline is if your transition swing goes too far over and you start cutting on the line, then you got a problem, you know?
Yes.
If you cut over the line, you're disqualified. If you have a cutout or an incomplete cookie, you're disqualified.
And you only have 10 centimeters, you know, for those two cookies.
It's
That's
minuscule. But you can see these first cuts by both these guys, really, really nice thin cookies. And then the transition is a key point here. If you can transition quickly without a lot of bottom swing and have a nice clean upcut with a thin cookie, you're going to have a good cut. Now that cookie that came down from Prieur was massively thick, and it took up a lot of the log that was left over. It was a little bit thinner by Pajan, but he was just a bit slower on the transition because he lined his up with a little bit more accuracy, let's say. So it took more time for him to line up. Some of these guys just have such a clean transition to the upcut, they don't even think about it, they just do.
And I remember one of the first things you told me was thin to win.
Yeah.
You know, make sure those cookies are not too big. Start up thin. Hopefully, Julien Mayer and Geoffrey Eder will think about that as they go into the next heat. Personal best, not too bad, 10.63 and 10.27.
Not
so
bad
this
at
could
all.
be a real fight.
And these two guys on stage against each other once again, so a head-to-head battle. Again, just the times count. We're not knocking anybody out right away.
If they get the personal best, they would move up to position 1 and 2, by the way. So that would be valuable points for them. But let's see how it goes on the day. There's the 10-centimeter line.
Yeah, you can see they also taking a black marker and just a black wax marker and marking their lines for the cut. So that's a way that they can make sure they're, it's kind of like a targeting system for, you know, a missile or shooting a gun, you know. It's how they see quickly to set the blade in place, but that's not all, right? They can set the blade in place quickly, but if they've got a weird angle and they've got a cutout and they don't notice it, they could be in trouble.
Stand to your timber. 3,
Let's see how this
2,
goes.
1, go!
Very good start.
Head to head.
There's
Now
that
that's a
win.
win, yep. He was listening to you.
Fantastic transition, but look at that, we have a cutout, so he's got to go reset and start the cut up again. And that's a big fat cookie from Meyer on the other side with a 12.62. Ada with a 15.23. You could see him shaking his head. He knew right away, but at least he caught it. I've seen it happen where the athlete doesn't see the cutout, cuts through, and then notices a half-cut cookie on the floor and has to go and cut a complete one. So he got it early enough to be able to get a halfway decent time, but they're a bit slow here.
Both cuts are good.
But he's in the ranking. Surely not what he was hoping for, but that's the way it goes.
But both of them were very quick on that initial cut. I mean, they got up there fast. They got those saws moving through nice and clean. Didn't seem that there was a lot of drag on the motor or the chain. And you can see that is a very nice, accurate cut. A little bit of an angle in towards the inside, so that can cause problems on the upcut a little bit. And we noticed that they had to reset for that second block there. You can see the cutout, and there's the second cut on the far side. Otherwise, he would have been much quicker on that upcut. And that's just the risk of it, you know. If you're trying to get it quick and you're not quite as accurate, you've got a small angle out so that you're cutting, you know, not straight in, but at an angle, and then piece flies out of the side, or the bar comes out the other side. Then you have to reset, recut, and it just takes time, and it's a bit of a bummer.
And I'm so happy that everyone can see you now, because you've been explaining everything to me with a whole lot of body movement, and there is a big difference. You can, you know, just watch closely. Every athlete has his own style, and so have the athletes in the next heats. They're already on stage, and of course we don't want to miss a second of the competition as Christophe Leroux takes on Corentin Gaudin. Personal bests, of course, from Leroux. Not just a bit better, but I would say better by a margin. But I mean, we've been surprised quite a number of times over the last few months with young athletes, you know, progressing over 2 or 3 or maybe 4 months that you would not expect. So this might be a big fight.
Well, it's not like these guys sit on the couch and eat chips and watch timber sports to try and practice, you know. They're out there in their gardens and their training facilities and with their clubs and stuff like that. And they're making sure that they're putting their hands on the equipment that they need to work with
as often as possible.
As often as possible. And a lot of these guys work very much with the hot saw and the stock saw to make sure they're clean with these disciplines. But they're also chopping and sawing in the other disciplines as well to make sure that they've got everything as close to competition ready as possible.
Ready.
I'd have to say the team is working really fast and efficiently today.
3, 2, 1, go!
So Corentin Gandin on the right-hand side had an okay underhand chop. Wow, that is a beautiful first cookie, though. I believe it was Leroux who we had that very thin cookie, and both of them looking good on the upcut. Woo! Leroux with a bit of a fatter second one. Godin with a nice time of 12.86. So at the moment, it looks like the wood's cutting a little bit slower in the stock saw. But that tells us one thing, and that's that the wood is consistent across the board for all the athletes. So we're not seeing one guy ridiculously faster than the other.
Ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
And I have to support everything you say. I mean, look at the times, 12.24 and 12.66. And one time is the third fastest time, and the other one is the 9th fastest time. Even though there's not a lot of difference between those two times, that's absolutely fantastic, and that shows how close everything is together and how fair the conditions are with the wood. And now that we're back in the picture, you know, I want to come back to the techniques, the different techniques we've seen, with people using more of their body weight, others, you know, putting the weights on top and using the strength of their arms. What do you think is the best technique if you had the perfect athlete? What would be our
that's a tough call, because every technique has its own benefits.
Just think
and
of me
drawbacks,
doing
right?
it, you know, it's like.
You know, like I'm a bit like Puy-Barré as far as my stature is concerned. So I don't know. I think I would probably want to lean into it more like this, so I've got more of an angle of the bar into the block. You know, because you're a bit smaller, you might want to be using your body weight to lean back and try and have that power from your body weight. And I think that's what we saw in that one heat with Puy-Barré on stage of the first one. He was very good. And actually, I'm just noticing that his time has been adjusted by the Competition Control Center, and he has taken over the lead in stock saw.
Oh, there we go, you're right. And now, of course, the next heat is Pierre-Louis Poisot against Cyril Marchal, heat number 5. And they are trying to get the corrected time of Pierre Puy-Barré, who is in the lead at the moment with 11.90. So that is the time to beat at the moment. Personal best, not so bad. Poisot 10.51, Marchal 11.48. So you would have to say they are within striking distance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's not a lot of difference between the top. Let's see. The top 5 guys are only separated by 8 points. It's definitely manageable in one more discipline coming up, the standing block chop, but we've still got to get through 2 more heats in our stock saw. And let's not forget this next heat here with Pierre-Louis Poisot and Cyril Marchal. Cyril Marchal, very good in this discipline. If we look at Cyril's best time, it's an 11.48. Ooh, Pierre-Louis Poisson, I'm just stumbling all over that one right now, has a good time of 10.51. Okay. So if they can stay consistent there, these guys could move up to the top of the rankings. Look at all those hats and heads sitting in front of the stage. It's amazing.
And everybody seems to love that noise.
Yeah, there's a bunch of gas heads
included.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Bit of a delay
Not a
there.
perfect start.
I don't know if that was our camera position or if it was the guys, but it's a nice transition from Cyril Marchal. He might have a good time here as he gets through there in 12.97. So a little bit slower. He's in 8th place at the moment, and that puts Pierre-Louis Poisot down there in 9th place, just behind him. There's just been a small adjustment. Now Cyril Marchal has been shipped up to 7th place after adjustment.
But I mean, it's crazy. You have positions 2 to 8, all between 12 and 13 seconds.
Yeah.
So close together, it makes such a big difference.
You can see here, now he's got the bar of the saw really deep in there. So he's almost running the motor and the hacks right against the block. Now here's a good thin cut right there from Poisot. As you can also see, the angle is just slightly moving in towards the inside of the block. Now that's the second cut from Poisot, quite a big block. So the more block there is on the outside, the more drag there's going to be on it. That's why they say thin to win.
So one more heat's coming up in this discipline, in the stock saw. Adrien Courteau against Guillaume Moore, and of course Moore after the first discipline in the lead, so he's going to try and collect as many points as possible to tell Puy-Barré, hey, this might be my year. Puy-Barré on top at the stock saw at the moment, so this is going to be not only against time, not only against the Courteau, but also against Puy-Barré, if you take a look at it from the side of Guillaume Moore.
So Pierre Puy-Barré at the moment, 22 points at the top with the top spot in the stock saw and 3rd place in the underhand chop. I mean, at this point, all that Guillaume Moore has to do is get a good, solid third place, and he is tied with Pierre Puy-Barré. Let's see if he can do it, though.
Okay.
That is the big question.
Warm up your shows.
So Guillaume Moore and Adrien Courteau both with really, really even times here in their tail of the tape personal bests.
Edwards, ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Good
Really
start.
nice start. Wow! Guillaume Moore, fantastic transition, but he skipped a little bit. He had to reset. Now he's got the upcut with a little bit of a slow cut.
Oh.
Courteau with 11.80. 12.99 for Guillaume Moore.
That is a delay.
That's a huge problem for him. That puts him in 10th place in the stock saw.
Adrien, tu sens le...
And believe it or not, Courteau, with this good time, moves up into the first place all together with Puy-Barré.
Yeah.
Both having 21 points, and Maurice with 18
Interesting.
points in the
Ladies
third.
And look what's happened to Guillaume Moore. We'll take a look at the overall standings in a little bit, but he has dropped down to 5th place.
This is
still
how fast
safe.
it goes. Yeah, it's safe. But it's still, this is the beauty of Steel Timber Sports. It's crazy. You have to perform. You have to deliver on every single discipline.
Yeah, you
That's
can't
the
make
end of
any
it.
mistakes. And I was just saying, you know, he needs to have a good third place or better to be even Steven or ahead of Pierre Puy-Barré, but he was just a bit too slow. And it was by virtue of having to reset on the upcut. He skipped on the initial transition and then had to reset, and then the upcut was a bit slow, as I think he tried to pull on the saw a bit too much. It slowed everything down for him. And yeah, that was a disappointed face looking up at that time. So let's take a look at the stock saw results here.
Time to do a math. Yeah, Courteau up with 12 points in this discipline. Puy-Barré claiming 11 points in Leroux, that we've just seen with 10. Mayer 9, Prieur 8, Maurice, and that all the way down. But of course, what we're interested in is the all-over ranking for the moment, and that's coming up hopefully now. And this is absolutely exciting with Puy-Barré and Courteau together up there in top position with 21 points apiece. Maurice, he's still there, you know, in third position. And Moore, he's dropped down. No, he's only in position number 5 after having led in the first discipline. So everything's been turned around within seconds.
But we know that Guillaume Moore is a very good person. He's a very good athlete, very good person, but he's a very good athlete with the axe in hand. So we've got another chopping discipline coming up with the standing block chop next. So he could very well come into the standing block chop and regain a few points.
And of course, everybody fighting for points. Everybody wants to in the top 8 ranking of Europe.
Yes.
Why? Because Stuttgart is coming up, the World Championships, and everything you can look out for, well, we'll show you right now.
Herzlich willkommen, Stuttgart! A new world record for Sterling Hart. To celebrate the 90th anniversary, STIHL has brought the STIHL Timbersports World Championship back to Stuttgart.
Okay, this is some advice to everyone out there who's enjoying themselves now. Make sure to be part of Stuttgart. There's hardly any tickets left. I think we're going to be sold out with, what, 10,000 people coming?
6,500 people in the Porsche Arena on each day, and it has actually
so that's
sold out is our information.
Altogether.
So yeah, it's going to be plenty of people there. They're going to have a ton of fun. Stuttgart, for some reason or another, it's a very big animal. Let's put it that way. It's the home of STIHL. It's the base for STIHL Timbersports. It's where these athletes are drawn to this year because it's the World Championship. It's going to be an amazing event. We also saw a quick clip there of Sterling Hart in 2016 getting what is just an unbelievable world record in the springboard. It was bananas. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
This might last forever, if you ask me. I've never seen anything like it before, and it was maybe might not see in a lifetime again.
It was lightning in a bottle, let's put it that way. That's going to be a tough one to beat, like, you know, 35 seconds to get up there and cut off a block, that's like, it just doesn't happen that quickly. You know, we're seeing athletes, if these guys can get under a minute on that springboard, we're like, cool. If they can get close to 40, 45 seconds, we're like, hey, wow, this is exciting. But a 35-second block is just incredible. So that's going to be a record that's going to hold for a while. We've got the springboard coming up a little bit later on in round 2. In the meantime, you know, we've got a lot of shucking and jiving already happening in our points.
And of course, there's many nations that want to compete at the World Championship, but not everybody's allowed to. 8 European countries, and we have 4 overseas.
Yes.
The national champions of New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and the USA.
Correct. And then we have the top 8. Now, it's not just going to be 8 European nations, it's going to be the top 8 in the European ranking. So theoretically speaking, Germany is mixed out of that one because they have an automatic invitation for the Worlds as they're hosting it, but there's still 8 athletes from the European ranking based on their times. So that's the important thing. It's about the time. So the fastest guys in Europe are going to be invited over there to participate in the Worlds.
So you need to be the French pro champion with a great time to be able to compete in Stuttgart. And that's what these guys are fighting for. And now we can hear by the noise, so we're ready for the standing block chop and our first heat.
Standing block chop. At the standing block chop, the felling of a tree with an axe is simulated. A vertically positioned wooden block with a diameter of 30 centimeters has to be cut through both sides. A powerful and precise swing with the axe is the premise of a good result.
So let's take a look at Christophe Leroux and Julien Meyer, who will be in our first heat, followed by Maurice against Gaudin, Eder against Marchal, Prieur et Poisot-Bargain taking on Courton, and Puberet against Moore.
Now this is an important discipline right now because it's the third of 3 in round 1, and it's also where we're going to eliminate 4 athletes from our list. So we're going to go from 12 down to 8 into the second round. So you got to be good here in standing block.
So the standing block chop, as we just heard, about to commence.
May we?
Look at the crowd.
Wow, the tension is palpable here.
Oh yeah. And it seems to be getting more people.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber.
So there we see
3,
Christophe Leroux.
2, 1, go.
Julien Meyer on the right-hand side of your screen. Nice timing on their starts, I believe. Christophe Leroux getting some nice chips out of his. Julien Meyer's got a bit of a wiggly block there, actually. Looks like it might be okay. It's wiggling more than Christophe Leroux, that's for sure. And Leroux getting some frequent drivers in there. Julien Meyer, excuse me, has moved over to the other of his block, about 4 drivers ahead of Christophe Leroux as they get working on that second side together. It looks like Julien Meyer may well have a good time here as they pass the 30-second mark. He's getting close, starting to wiggle and waggle, but Christophe Leroux's got a powerful driver, and he's getting close to getting through on that second side, and he may well take over this one here with a faster second cut. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Leroux or is it going to be
Meyer?
Wow, it's going to be Meyer with a 51.42. I thought Leroux was getting really close. Now it's wiggling and waggling. A little bit of an off cut there, and he gets it in 58.12.
Not bad, but still we know that both of them can do better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, their personal bests were just around the 30-second mark. You know, Christophe Leroux with a 29.03, Julien Meyer with a 34.38. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Ladies and gentlemen, those cuts are good.
Still happy though to perform in front of this crowd, no doubt about that. But let's see how the other athletes rock on this, and we can take a closer look at the slow-mos. Didn't look too bad at the beginning.
Stage cameras there. It looked good for the first few drivers. You could see the angles that he was cutting at weren't quite what he drew in there. Now, for Meyer, it was a little bit different. That right there, you could see it was a straight-in cut, which was a bit of an interesting choice because normally what you want to do is you want to try and drive down at an angle and up at an angle to get more material out. If you're cutting straight in, you're not cutting efficiently because you're just basically hammering the log. And there you can see Julien Meyer and Christophe Leroux. That final driver from Christophe was beauty, though. It took him a while to get there. He was getting a bit tired. And that's the other thing that happens when you get tired pushing through your second side. The angle of the axe starts to change. You start hitting flat. You don't want to do that. You want to try and hit the angle.
Well, hopefully Alexandre Maurice and Corentin Gaudin heard what you said, and they're going to do everything they can up there on stage to entertain the crowd and to get a good time. Oh, that's what I love about the sport, you know.
Yeah.
Wishing each other luck and then really going for it.
Now you see both of the guys each have 2 axes on stage. Alexander Maurice just putting a little bit of, what do they call that powder that they put in? It's not zinc, it's something else. There's a special name for it that they use in gymnastics.
Oh,
just to make sure that it's...
You're asking the right guy.
Yeah.
I've seen it, I've seen
you know
it.
What I'm talking
I know
about.
what you're talking
white
about.
Powdery stuff, that stuff, you know.
Ready.
Yeah, that dries your hands.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Alexander Maurice on the right-hand side of your screen here. For a small man,
Whoa.
he packs a punch. Look at
How
that.
about that?
He is just powering
Great
those drivers
pictures from
in
the
there.
camera.
And the beautiful thing about Alexander Maurice is he's very accurate with his cuts. Now, Gaudin on the other side, Christophe, excuse me, Corentin Gaudin, moving over to the other side of his block, about 3 strokes behind Alexander Maurice. Maurice getting close to it, though. That thing is wiggling and waggling. He really wants it. Getting close to the 30-second mark now. Past it, and he's got it at 30.74. That's the fastest time so far, but I don't know how long that's going to stand. I might have overspoken about the wood today.
And he's still fighting.
Gaudin still fighting. You can see those straight blows.
Too straight,
in.
maybe.
It's
Yeah?
too straight. He's got to go at the angle. If he knows, that he's got like maybe a ½ centimeter of material
That's
there,
fine,
straight
right?
cut's fine, but you got to really be sure of it by cutting at the angle just to get it down, you know?
And I felt like he was going for the final cut 2 or 3 times too early.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct there.
But understandable, you know, the crowd cheering for you. Yeah, let's finish this, let's do it.
All right, so we are motoring through these disciplines very quickly here today as we'll get that stage cleaned up and take a look at the slow-mos. Now look at the start here from both of these guys. I mean, absolutely hammering Alexander Maurice, and there you see Corentin Gaudin, some big drivers. A couple of times he got that axe stuck in there a little bit where he had to wedge it out. There's a perfect example of just taking a bit too much time to get the axe out, but here he opted to go around to the other side of his block, I think a little bit earlier than he should have, but he had some nice big chips coming out. And Alexander Maurice he was motivated there. He really wanted that. But you can see the difference there on Alexander's last driver. It was on the down angle, and he cut through much cleaner than going straight in with those cuts. So each time you have that down angle, you have a much more efficient cut because you're cutting on your original wall, and then you're cutting material out, and you're not cutting new material as you go through.
That was a perfect example of seeing, you know, instead of going to this, getting that angle done. Thank you very much
no
for the explanation and for helping me out with this one. But I think that's the small things that make the big difference. And with the more routine athletes, you see they hardly make those mistakes.
Yeah, it's just about their system. It's just about their routine. It's just about the amount of times they've cut. You know, it's that feeling. You know, some of these guys, you could put a blindfold on them, put them in the position where they're going to hit the log, and they'll cut that no problem every time because they're just so practiced and so steady with their hits and everything. But when you get tired as well, the angle changes just ever so slightly on the blade, right? So you start cutting in, and we may see it. I'm hoping not. What will happen is if a guy gets a little bit lazy, a little bit tired, on that upcut, the axe will skip off the block and go up, and you don't want to be around for that, especially if they let go of the axe. I haven't seen that happen yet, thankfully, so knock on wood for that one.
But I've been told it's a bit like tennis. You know, when you have to find the right position for holding the racket, eastern grip, western grip, and once you get a bit tired, once, you know, you start thinking too much, this might change just a few millimeters, and it does make a big difference. You know, you might not hit the top spin the way you're meant to hit it, and it's the same, you know, with not getting that angle that you need. Yeah,
that's absolutely the perfect analogy for all you tennis players out in the audience that want to know a little bit how to swing an axe. There you go. I mean, that's essentially it. It's that angle that plays such a key role.
And staying at tennis, you know, we have the different surfaces. We have clay, we have grass, we have hardcourt. We have wood, and this should be sustainable. And okay, I've been just told we have to skip that. I wanted to give you guys some information on sustainability and on the wood that we're using.
come later
But
with
we've
it.
got a heat, yeah. We'll talk about this later. We've got heat 3 up on stage. And that is Geoffrey Eder and Cyril Machal. They're taking it on. Let's take a look at the personal best. 35.01 for Eder and 23.58 for Machal, which would mean that he would be on top of the board if he manages to cut his personal best. But that,
I
of
gotta
course,
say, the crew up there is doing a fantastic job of getting
they're
that
surprising
stage
us
ready.
every
It's
time.
really quick.
Surprising us in a positive way.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Allez, c'est lancé pour ces deux garçons.
All right, Cyril Marchal on the right-hand side of your screen. Going a little bit of a flatter cut on his bottom strokes there, maybe struggling a little bit with his back, I don't know. Geoffrey Eder. Wow, looking good. Marchal moved over to the other side of his block already. Doesn't seem to be bothering him at all, that flat angle on the bottom. And he's looking like he's got it wiggling. Oh, it's going to be a good time for Marchal. 26.33. And there you go, top time of the day so far in standing block chop. Well done by Cyril Marchal. Geoffrey Eder on the second side. He's chipping out really nicely. Some big pieces flying. He's coming close there. He's got a little bit of work on the far side to get through, and you can see those small adjustments that he's making to try and get it. One more driver should do it, and there it is in 45.20, and that has him in third place for the moment in standing block.
And did you see that look that he gave his axe, just making sure, everything is all right. I mean, they are razor blade sharp, aren't they?
They're razor blade sharp, and each of these athletes will have up to 6 axes in their quiver, and each axe head will have a different type of shape. So we'll see banana blades, we'll see half bananas, we'll see chisels, we'll see all sorts of different cutting styles.
And the cuts are good, that's what we want to hear.
And each axe will cut the blocks differently. Some axes, like the chisel, the chisel axe will hit the wood and explode those pieces out. The banana will cut a little bit more clean and not have so many pieces coming out.
I'd hate to make all those
decisions,
which suits your style the most, and then having...
There's that skip, that's what I was talking about right there. And
well,
that's that angle. It was just a little bit off, and he just didn't have it exactly clean the way he wanted it.
That was exactly what you're talking about. I don't want to get that in my face.
Not at all. I mean, it's a terribly sharp instrument these guys are working with. It's so sharp you could shave with it,
I thought about that, by the way.
Last couple of drivers. Yeah, I like my cheeks where they are, though,
Yeah, just for Instagram, have some social media.
I'll come over here for the next show looking like Skeletor,
Heat number 4 coming up. Anthony Prieur and Pierre-Louis Poisson. There they are.
Poisson this time will occupy stage right from our audience perspective, and Anthony Prieur stage left. And there you see Anthony getting ready. Now, it looks like most of these guys have opted for, it looks to me, like a chisel axe, although it could be that Poisson has a banana blade on there. We'll see.
To your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Poisson getting right into it. Why, he's angry at that block. He doesn't like it at all. Yeah, doing a great job. Poisson in nice and deep already on the first side. I think he's going to go around quickly. There he is. He's on the other side.
Indeed he does.
Oh, he took a couple more drivers there. First decided
honestly,
to
what
change
did that block do to him? I mean, that's just like...
Poor innocent wood.
Boom.
Prieur, Poisson going at it. Prieur, nice big chips flying out for him as well. The frequency of his drivers improved on the second side as well. We might be close on both of these guys. And it's Prieur with a 34.08. Poisson getting close with a 37.31. 2 good times. So Anthony Prieur and Pierre-Louis Poisson in 3rd and 4th places respectively in standing block chop. Let's see what that looks like in our overall standings. Pierre, let's see. Louis Poisson is in 9th place. He's in a bit of a rough position right now.
Oh, wow. Everything and anything is possible at the moment. That's some beautiful pictures we're getting delivered here from our cameras. I mean, look at the scenery.
I mean, you got to give kudos to our camera guys on stage. They are about as close as you want to be to any of this action up there. You know, one errant position on stage and you're missing a part of your body, you know? So these guys are really brave. I gotta hand it to them.
Look at the beauty of that wood.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's not only beautiful wood, but functional wood.
Functional.
And I would say very fair wood. That's necessary to have a contest and a competition like
Absolutely fair wood, but also important here is a lot of people come to us after this, like, what are you guys doing? You're cutting these trees down, you're chopping them up like crazy, and then you're pushing them off the stage. Well, that's not exactly what's happening. We do collect all the wood, so, I mean, just for a little bit more information, let's take a look at what we mean by sustainable wood.
We at STIHL Timbersports pride ourselves that all wood is sustainably grown, harvested and recycled to minimise the overall amount of wood processed. Firstly, this popular wood is grown on certified plantations. Secondly, the white pine for our sawing disciplines is only sourced from certified forest management. After all our STIHL competitions, all the spent wood is collected and recycled right down to the wood chips and sawdust, which, for example, is converted into renewable energy in the form of wood pellets for biomass. We quest to find certified partners. This ensures that all newly planted trees are nurtured and managed, promoting maximum efficiency and sustainability for the future conservation of our valuable forests.
Therefore, as you can see, with good harvesting practices and good management with silviculture, the ground is quickly replaced by new trees, or could even be used for arable for farmers and future rotations.
Oh, so many plans just going out the window because our crew on stage is so fast today.
Too fast. Standing block chop heat number 5, Elie Bergin against Adrien Courteau. There they are, ready to get going here on stage.
Elie Bergin with a quick shake. Yeah. I think he's just trying to shake out the nerves. Adrien Courteau getting ready to go. Tall man. Forearms like Popeye for a thin man.
Okay, athletes ready.
Stand to your timber.
Bergin, 30.46, personal best.
1,
Courteau,
go.
27.24. Let's see how they do.
Right away, some big chips flying for both of these guys. A bit of a wiggly block on Courteau's or on Bergin's side as he moves around to the other side of his block, well ahead of Courteau. Courteau now on the second side of his block. Excuse me, the other way around. It's Courteau was first around to the other side. Elie Bergin was late coming around. Oh my God! That's a personal best for Courteau with a 25.67, who absolutely surprised Elie Bergin, who's still struggling on the second side of his block. He slips a couple there as he tries to get a couple of adjustments and making the move to get that second side clean through. He's really struggling. He might have a knot in there. He didn't go deep enough on the first side, and now he's trying to get some support from the audience as he's choking up on his axe a little bit too much.
This is where
and
things
that
start
block
hurting.
is broken. That's going to be a huge problem for him because each driver, the block moves before it actually gets cut, and it's going to be just a fight to get through there. He's finally done it in 101.39, and he is disappointed. You can see he's also tired out.
Absolutely understandable. But all about the finish from Courteau, huh?
Oh. Unbelievable.
Sensational. Personal best and the best time of the day in the standing block chop.
Yeah, that's an interesting move that's just happened there. And Adrien Courteau has just moved himself up into the top spot in the overall rankings with 33 points. But we still do have one more heat to go.
Oh, yeah, and that's Pierre-Beret and Moret. Yeah, two of the big contenders for the title.
Pierre-Beret, I mean, he is the man here. And, of course, Guillaume Moore, an unbelievable competitor who had a bit of a rough stock saw, is going to hopefully try and come back in the chopping discipline here, standing block chop, as we take a look at Elie Bergin. I tell you what, though, that driver set from Adrien Courteau Another guy hating on the wood, huh?
Yeah, big hate on that wood, but it worked perfectly.
Look at this, one more driver here, and that thing just flew to China.
What a smooth reverse
Look at the
side.
reaction, fantastic.
Like you always say, they know immediately. He hits that last one, that last stroke, and just wants to know what the time exactly is, but he knows it's fantastic.
And the problem for Elie Pageant is there was a split right down his block, so the whole block was moving each time he drove into that block with the axe, and he wasn't getting the cutting action that he wanted from the axe.
That's exactly what you want to avoid, but of course you have no influence on that. Let's find out what Pierre Pubaret and Guillaume Moore can do in this final heater at the standing block chop. This, of course, is the last discipline of the first round. And after this, we will know who the 4 athletes are that we have to say goodbye to. But one thing for sure, these 2 are going to be in the next round, but they want to still have the chance to compete for the title. So very, very important for them to get a good time here now.
Looks like Pierre Pubaret using the banana blade. You could just see the shape on the blade really quickly and briefly. And Guillaume Moore, I can't see what he's decided to use, but I've only just become a little bit more informed on those blades recently in Great Britain after talking to a couple of the athletes.
3, 2, 1, go!
Wow, perfect start for both of these guys as they both get into it. Pierre Pubaret knew he was really in trouble against Guillaume Moore in the last chopping discipline. Pubaret moving over to the other side, 2 strokes ahead of Guillaume Moore, on the 2 of them hammering away at it like crazy. It's going to be a close one for Pierre Pubaret. He's getting close to it, and he's got it down. He doesn't even need that last swing. Guillaume Moore right there. Oh, and a personal best for Guillaume Moore. That's a fantastic run.
Are you
that
kidding
puts him
me?
in second in standing block chop, and he's redeemed himself, moving up into 3rd place in the overall standings. What an amazing run from Guillaume Moore. Fantastic.
And you know what that means? The big man, Pierre Pubaret, is back in the lead again in the overall standings.
Yeah, I mean, he is just so consistent and so strong and so good. I mean, the guy is just a talent. Unbelievable.
Okay,
Couture moving up into 2nd position, and Guillaume Moore into 3rd. Maurice is still there with 26 points in 4th position. Wow.
Yeah, unfortunately for one of the guys that we were talking about early, Elie Pageant, he's down in 10th spot after the 3rd discipline in the 1st round. That means he's going to be knocked out of competition here today. But look at Pubaret. I mean, he just knows exactly what he needs to do. And Guillaume Moore, he's like, okay, this is it. I got to go up against the big man again. I'm going to show him that he's not getting away from me too far. Pubaret's last couple of drivers here. And look at this, he didn't even need to take the last one. That block just fell off, like the block was saying, no, don't hit me again, please.
I'll leave, it's all right.
And here we have the last couple of drivers from Guillaume Moore. That was a fantastic effort from Guillaume, very, very well done. And that jumped him from, I think he was in 6th or 7th place up until 3rd place. So what a great result for him after having a really ridiculously bad stalks off.
So there's the final result here at the standing block chop with Pubaret taking the 12 points, Moore 11 and Couture 10. 2 personal bests that we've seen, and of course that sums up to give us the final standing after round 1, which is coming up right here. Top 8 are going to move into round 2, of course, and it's time to say goodbye to Poisot, Pangin, Gaudin and Eder. Just not collecting enough points to make it to the next round, but how close are the top 3 together? So still everything and anything is possible today, and that's what we like about STIHL Timbersports, and that's the way it should be.
It's still all to play for as we move into the 2nd round with the single buck and the springboard. 2 interesting disciplines, the single buck or the misery whip, as it can really be a disaster if you don't have a nice smooth
We've seen
run.
it all, yeah.
And then, of course, we know the kind of drama that can occur with a springboard if you don't cut a good pocket, if you're sagging a bit too much on the second board. The time's ticking away on you, you know, like you say. And when you get up there on the top block, and if you don't have a good position on that board, you have 0 power, and it's all coming from the shoulders. You're like, trying to hit the board away, and it's just not working for you. So you really got to be on point, and that's really the killer discipline before the final one, and that is the hot saw, which is going to be the loud one this afternoon.
But everything you've been talking about starts with the single buck, and how single buck exactly works, well, we'll tell you at this very moment.
The 2-meter-long cross-cut saw used for the single buck discipline is made especially for competition. A series of consistently patterned 10-centimeter long teeth are cut with a laser on one side of the saw and then hand sharpened. Saw teeth are divided into two types, cutters and rakers, just like on the old school saws. The saw weighs about 5 kilos and its base price starts at around 1,500 euros. Single buck. The single buck is a one-man saw about 2 meters long. With this, the athletes have to cut off a complete disc of a 46-centimeter thick wooden block. The perfect interplay between rhythm and strength is the key to success.
It looks simple, but we've seen so many crazy things happen in the single buck. What do the athletes have to look out for? How do you focus to be on top of your game in this discipline?
Well, as you heard, it's a 2-meter long cross-cut saw with these 10-centimeter long sweeper and rake, or cutter and raker teeth. And the thing is, with those 10-centimeter long teeth, if you angle it just a little bit incorrectly, it hooks into the wood that you've started your cut with, and that saw stops dead in its tracks. Literally, if you're way out at the back on your push through, the saw will bow and bend, and the whole thing will just be like, you know, you should have a bow out there to make music
and we've
with
seen
it
big,
instead.
big men, you know, just not knowing what to do because they got stuck.
And I mean, the saw, theoretically, you should just be able to move it back and forth in the block with one hand, and it will do the cut. It will take a long time to make the cut, but theoretically you could do it. But in racing, in this particular situation, you've got to keep that saw moving. You've got to get your hips into it. You've got to get your back leg pushing off of it. And
I don't want to interfere, but I've just been told you did it single-handedly in Great Britain. Is that true?
No, that's not true. That's an absolute bald-faced lie. I did it with 2 hands and very, very slowly.
Let's take a look at the start list, which does not include Troy Mannering. And I'm very sad about that. Meyer against Leroux, Brieur versus Marchal, Meurice against Moret, and Courteau against Puberé. That's the 4 heats as our athletes are getting ready to enter the stage, and the crowd behind us. I mean, just look at that. They are still enjoying themselves. We can see them up on the big screen for a moment. Julien Meyer, 41 years of age, against Christophe Leroux, 49 years of age. 2 guys with a lot of routine. And still, you know, they will call it the misery whip, because even after all those years of competing, it is still one of those disciplines, right?
It's small angles, it's small changes, it's minuscule movements that make a big difference. Trying to keep that saw running smooth and flat. You know, I can tell you from my own experience, you can pull back and have a nice smooth run through, and then if you just angle it slightly because you're getting tired or you're leaning into it a bit too much, the thing will just stop in its tracks. It's really, really frustrating sometimes.
Preparation is a big, big thing.
This is huge for these guys. Now they want to make sure that the piece that they're cutting is not too thick, because that's going to bind on the saw as they get deeper into the cut, but they also don't want it to be too thin. So a good rule of thumb is to use the width of the tool that our judges will check the depth of the initial alignment cut, and that is usually how far in they will set it. Some guys like to go a bit thinner. Now we see here with Julien Meyer, he's got it a little bit thinner, and that can cause problems at the bottom end of the cut if the saw twists a little bit and breaks the cookie off.
Stand to your timber.
For them. Let's see how they do.
3, 2, 1, go!
That's a very nice start by both of these guys. Julien Meyer going for the nice long strokes, and you can see he's going knuckles to tip there, and he's got pace. This is going to be a nice run for Meyer. Leroux doing it as well. He's got that elbow tucked into the blade as it comes through, and that's a fantastic time by Julien Meyer. 16.20 personal best, and 21 even for Christophe Leroux.
2.5 seconds better than his personal best.
Yep.
But I think I knew when he started, you know, with all the preparation, taking a closer look at the saw, that determination in his face, he's proven us right. Yeah.
But the interesting thing, too, is he started off using the entire length of the saw, and you could see he was using long, flowy strokes, and then as he got into the block, believe it or not, his strokes started to get faster. We'll see that hopefully in the slow-mos.
Oh, he's very pleased with that time, and rightly so.
So those are a couple of beautiful starts by both of these guys using the entire length of the saw. But you can see here, you got a nice cut going on from Christophe. And that's
that's when he speeds up.
And that's where he speeds up. He got the whole saw into the block, and then he started to pick up the pace. There we see.
That's a great finish.
Yeah, right there. Oh, and that was a little bit sketchy at the end. You could see it start to peel away.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
So he had to make sure he had to push through all the way to make sure that block was cut clean. And that was a nice final draw through from Christophe Leroux. Now that is a significant mustache.
Très bien. Très bien, if you ask me. Heat number 2, Anthony Preuilleur and Cyril Marchal to be on stage in just a moment. What do you mean, just a moment? They're already here. How fast are these guys? Fantastic.
Yeah, the beauty about these disciplines on the big blocks here is there's not a lot of block changes that are required, so they can just step in, make sure that the blocks are evenly cut, and set their saws in place.
And they want to be there early to get their preparation done. You know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, you want to make sure that saw is in position. Great view of that golf shoe. Don't see golf shoes very often out there. Very stylish.
Yeah,
very 70s golfing style. The reason why he's wearing a golf shoe, what we see most often are shot put or javelin shoes with the longer spikes, is it gives the athletes better grip on the floor up there for really being able to put all the power into it.
Ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So there we see Preuilleur. Oh, very nice start by Anthony Preuilleur, using the entire length of the saw right away. Cyril Marchal doing the same thing. Look at that experience work for him. Both of these guys looking really good here. That's a fantastic pace. Both of them going to get down there, I believe, under 20. Yes, we got a personal best for Preuilleur with a 19.98. That should get better, in fact. And Marchal with a 19.20, fastest time of the day. Still with Julien Meyer with a 16.26, but the 19.20 from Cyril Marchal has him in second place for the moment.
Not bad at all.
Uh-oh, what do we got going on here? Oh. So a little bit of material at the bottom of the cut from Cyril Marchal. I hope that doesn't count as a DQ. I don't think it should, though.
Well, we'll find out in just a moment from Bart Jansen.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
All right, so
well done.
A little bit of a relief breath there for Cyril Marchal as Bart Jansen was taking a close look at a little piece
also
of wood
from my
left
side,
at the bottom.
because, you know, Bart, he's very, very strict.
He's very strict. He wants to make sure that everything is done absolutely on point. We will have Bart Jansen here a little bit later on for an interview.
Very much looking forward to that, by the way.
Nice. That final pull through from Cyril Marchal, very, very solid.
The single book. Ah, beautiful, beautiful pictures here.
All right, coming up next, Alexander Maurice and Guillaume Moore. So Guillaume Moore has a little bit to prove here.
Sure has.
16.36 personal best, so this is a discipline that favors him, and he really needs to get that 16.36 or better to try and make sure he's among the top guys here, because only 6 are going to be moving into the next round after 2 disciplines here in round number 2.
And do you see how he's really taking a close look at finding that perfect angle? And he's still not pleased, he's still not happy.
You can see here too, he's not a very tall man, so he's got a very flat starting position. So he'll try and keep that position.
Stand to your
these
timber.
Guys place their spikes as
3,
quickly and hard
2,
as the box as
1,
they can. Here we
go!
So Guillaume Moore with a very nice start. Alexander Maurice doing the same thing. These two guys have a very similar style. But you can see that saw is barely swinging at all for Guillaume Moore. Maurice really putting a lot of effort into those rolls.
The whole body working.
God, that's a personal best time for Moore. 15.45 and the time of the day. Alexander Maurice with a 21.57. That puts him right now at the bottom of the bucket in single buck. But Guillaume Moore with a time. Look at the time! To quote a mountain bike friend of mine.
Brilliant.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, those cuts are good.
Let's wait for the corrected time, 15.3. So that's putting a bit of pressure on Courtauld and Puy-Barré.
Yeah, Puy-Barré, though, is very strong in this discipline. I mean, this
know.
is a discipline that he is very good in. He is a tall man with power, and he guides that saw so well through. So the only thing is, if Puy-Barré is feeling a little bit of pressure from Moore and makes a mistake. But these two guys that were out there just now, just a fantastic run from Alexander Maurice and Guillaume Moore. Guillaume Moore, though, wow, what a run for him. 15.30 seconds, a personal best, and that's 3 personal bests in this discipline so far today.
Brilliant. That's 50%, doing my maths right. Talking
So
about
far,
maths,
yeah.
in round 2, we're going to have 16 points for the winner of the discipline, 14 points for the second best, and 12 for the third best. So this really is where you can collect a lot of points to make it through to the next round. So, the final heat in a single buck between Adrien Courtauld and Pierre Puy-Barré coming up. Whew. He has the national records.
Yeah, he wants to try and have that as close as possible to that national record as possible. You know, double possibles there, but he really needs it. But feeling the pressure from Guillaume Moore could make him make a mistake. We'll see.
Il a pris des bras, il a pris de l'assurance, tout ce qu'il faut pour aller chercher son adversaire. Alors peut-être pas le battre, mais pas être loin derrière, ça serait déjà très très beau. Et 15-30 en point de mire pour être dans les 2 premiers.
Okay, cadets ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, so you can see Puy-Barré, he takes a bit of a leisurely start, but he is so good with that thing, and he's got such a clean stride. He's so quick, because he's going slow and strong, and look at this.
No way, no way!
It's got him first place in single buck just by the hair of his chinny chin chin. 1.18 seconds ahead of Guillaume Moore. Wow, what a way to finish. Pierre Puy-Barré, he doesn't take the national title again, but I tell you what, that was a good time. It was amazing to see. He just starts so leisurely, but he's using the entire saw. It's insane.
And the entire body, the entire weight, the entire strength, the entire everything.
He's just so good with that discipline. So good.
And he's already packed up, ready to go. You know, just sit down.
Can I go home now, Mom? I want a glass of milk.
Oh, my word. What an athlete. Brilliant stuff.
Do you know what else I'm noticing here? I don't think we've had a DQ today, have we?
Honestly, I have to say, I think you're right, and that is a first.
That's a first.
Never had that before.
So there's what I'm talking about right off the start. That saw got stuck right away for Adrien Courtauld, and that caused him problems. So you can see so clean. Those cut-throughs are just super efficient from Puy-Barré. He's barely struggling with that saw, but he's very, very solid and clean with his cuts. All right, so let's take a look at the single buck rankings there. Puy-Barré with a fantastic cut of 13.90. Guillaume Moore, a great one for him as well, a personal best. Ooh, Puy-Barré with a season's best even. And Julien Meyer with a solid third place there in the single buck. Let's take a look how that affects the overall rankings.
Puy-Barré up by 8 points. How about that, Troy?
No change in the top 2 spots, so those guys are going head-to-head once again, and we will joined in studio by none other than Bart Janssen.
So
Hi,
here
Bart,
is.
welcome.
Hello. How do you feel? How are things going up there back on stage? Everything working fine? It looks to us.
It's unreal. So exciting. Very tough competition. It's a fair competition. We see not many mistakes. So yeah, so exciting today.
Talking about not many mistakes, Troy and I just mentioned we have not seen a DQ, and we're already in round number 2. I can't remember when this last happened.
Me either. We have every week competitions and we have everyday DQs, but now this is really good.
Is this the French spirit, maybe?
Maybe, I don't know. It's but it's good. I mean, it's nice not to see any DQs in the competition. Mentioning that, we've got great wood once again. It's running fair. We saw some incredible results from Rotterdam. We saw some incredible results in Great Britain. The wood seems to be running similarly here today. Do you think we're going to see any amazing results coming in the next 2 rounds here? Or the last part of this round and maybe in a hot saw? Any predictions for us, Bart?
No, yeah, everything is possible. But about the wood, I'm really happy. I'm pleased with the wood this year.
Yep.
So it's really fair wood for everybody, and that's the most important one. I'm not so for the best times and records, but of course the athletes like to have a record.
Of course.
But then it will be more tough for the next season to beat it again. So exciting.
I haven't thought of that. That's actually a quite nice way of putting it. So talking about coming back to the wood, because all the athletes are really happy about it. What is the big secret about the wood that we're seeing this year's competitions?
There is no secret. We cut it in November and it stays till March, and then we start turning it. And after that, we match it, we do what we can. It's a nature product, and this year we're really lucky with the forest. And
so it's like with the good wine, we had a good year.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You can compare it like that.
Okay.
I do have a question. We have the springboard coming up next. This is a really finicky discipline for a lot of the athletes. Now, we mentioned earlier on in the show when we saw a preview of the Worlds that's coming up in November in Stuttgart in 2016, Sterling Hart had that insane springboard. What do you attribute that to? Because for me, it was like a perfect pocket, and a lightning in the bottle at the top. Do you think that that will ever be broken? And why do you think he managed to get that record then?
I was there at that time, and we were so surprised. His pockets, his pockets were brilliant. That was the key. And then he was flying. So, and I hope we will beat it once, but that will not be easy.
I'm not making any predictions.
I don't say it will happen this year, but there's a chance. With this wood, we have a chance.
Okay.
Well, it sounds great to me. Talking about Stuttgart, how ready, how excited are you for this big climax at the end of the season?
I mean, we're just at the beginning of the season, so last week UK, this week France, next week we are in China, the week after we have La Tuile in Italy, the week after we go to Germany, so we have a lot of competitions. I'm not thinking about the World Championship yet, but yeah, it will follow up soon.
Yes, and of course the next live stream will be from Poland. That's another one you should not miss. Mr. Bart Jensen will be there as well. Troy Mainery and me definitely. And the atmosphere you're getting to see here is just typical for STIHL Timbersports. And we've got some more atmospheric feeling coming up for you in the next clip. So enjoy, lean back and Thanks, buddy.
Hard on the standing block. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Australia or New Zealand? Oh my God, how close is this? And it's Australia.
The atmosphere last night and the team's relay was unreal.
That is their title of Team World Champion. 2 years in a row.
Oh, definitely. It'd be the noisiest crowd I've competed against.
Shane Jordan's already over there.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of getting goosebumps thinking about it right now.
The crowds here, they were just erupting.
You feel the energy of the crowd.
My goodness, what a great comeback from Belgium with a time of 1.
The crowd was absolutely electric.
And it was so much noise and support.
Ja, doch, das pusht schon rum und mein Fanclub ist auch da.
Very passionate about their country and, yeah, their competitors.
Yeah, it feels super.
Oh my goodness, look at this.
It's pretty awesome to compete in front of a crowd like this.
But he's not giving up. He's looking good.
Like such an adrenaline rush. It's an amazing feeling.
They make a lot of noise, and that's good for our spirit. It's going to be the Czech Republic, and the crowd goes bananas. It's absolutely extreme here. Man hört.
Je m'appelle Stéphane, j'ai 51 ans et je suis entrepreneur de travaux forestiers. Et j'habite dans la commune de la Val d'Ins, dans la vallée de la Roisonne, au Villard. La solitude ne me pèse pas, moi j'aime bien être seul et j'aime bien être seul. Je me lève relativement tôt, parce que je suis un couche-tôt, donc lève tôt. Je prends mon café et ensuite, on a pour habitude avec ma chienne d'aller faire un petit tour dehors. Je lui donne à manger, je me prépare et je vais au boulot. Être dehors, le contact avec la nature, sentir les odeurs, sentir la petite brise quand il fait trop chaud qui vient te caresser la nuque et qui te rafraîchit, ça c'est cool. C'est une source inépuisable de bien-être et d'un point de vue énergétique, ça fait un bien fou. C'est une super thérapie, la forêt. Les arbres, c'est la vie. Je travaille principalement à la tâche, à l'ancienne, quoi, comme on bossait autrefois. Ça fait 25 ans. Pour moi, le métier de bûcheron est essentiel dans le sens où il alimente la filière bois, mais aussi entretenir les forêts via la sylviculture, de faire une sélection d'arbres dépérissants, de les couper au profit de la régénération qui viendra dans le futur. Ça reste un métier qui n'est pas accessible à tout le monde. C'est physique. Il y a la pente, l'hiver il y a le froid, l'été il y a la chaleur. C'est pas un milieu hostile, mais qui est un peu rude. Il faut s'accrocher.
Attention!
C'est pas tous les jours évident, hein. On n'y va pas tous les jours en sifflotant, mais c'est un métier qui de cœur. Je suis fier de ce que je fais. J'arrive pas en terrain conquis et en conquérant par définition. J'essaie d'avoir quand même une philosophie qui consiste à avoir conscience quand même que c'est un organisme vivant, un être vivant qu'on prélève. Quand on a un sapin ou n'importe quelle essence qui a 4 fois mon âge, ça instaure une forme de respect et voilà. Il y a toujours quand même une petite pensée. J'essaye d'être dans le respect du vivant et c'est dans ma nature de respecter la nature.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
We're still live from the Euroforest Fair here at Saint-Bonnet-de-Joux.
Saint-Bonnet-de-Joux.
Yeah, and we're having a great time. Things are starting to heat up a bit because we're ready for the springboard. And that is one of those disciplines that isn't that easy, but we have already seen somebody do magical things in this discipline.
Yeah, we talked about it with Bart Janssen when he was in studio with us. I love to say in studio because, like, we've got the audience right there. But
the biggest studio in the world.
Yeah, biggest studio in the world. But I mean, he mentioned he thinks that maybe nobody will ever break that record. I kind of hope it'll happen one day. I think it will, because the athletes just get better and better. But let's take a look back at Sterling Hart's thing, and we'll walk you through this a little bit, because it was just amazing back in 2016. Let's have a look.
3, 2, 1, go!
All right, you can see Sterling Hart here. He just has 4 hits on a perfect pocket, sets that board, and he was bang on in a hop. Second pocket, also 4 hits, sets that second board, and look at that. He hooks it in, the tooth is locked in. Jason Wynyard, a big man, right there with him though, but on top, it's Sterling Hart just giving everything he's got, breathing out with each driver. Look at that back foot right at the back edge of the block. It's unbelievable.
Unreal.
And on this side, I think he needs 3 hits to get it done. Bang! And that's a world record of 35.67 seconds. Look at Wynyard though. 38 and change for Jason Wynyard. That was that close. So those are 2 animals working at that. But Sterling Hart just had lightning in the bottle on that day for sure.
And of course, we hope to see similar quality in Stuttgart, where the World Championship will be taking place at the beginning of November, something you do not want to miss.
To celebrate the 90th anniversary, STIHL has brought the STIHL Timbersports World Championship back to Stuttgart.
So
things
a
are
ton
happening
of
up there.
activity going on stage, and you can see them setting up the springboards. Each athlete's required to do the top block on their own and clear up the area where they're going to cut, and that's what you see happening right there with Cyril as he...
Oh, they really want to make sure that everything is the way they need it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a very, very important discipline for all of these guys. The remaining 8 athletes have to do well here, because 2 more will be eliminated after the springboard and move on to the top 6 in the hot saw. And you can see there's a lot of things that go into play here on these blocks. So these 4 stands will remain on the stage,
but they will change the top block. And you can see some of the guys are using these long bolts right there to secure those top blocks in place. Now they have to be absolutely secure, because you have to remember we have some massive gentlemen going up there and hitting them with a lot of power, so they can't be wiggling and waggling with each driver that hits the block. It needs to be in there securely. So like I was saying, there's a lot of stuff that's going on there when these guys set these blocks up. We have that tree stand where they're clearing the bark off the front to make sure they have a clean location to put their pockets for their boards. And then, of course, that block on top that needs to be secured properly with these long bolts. So, tons going on.
And the big guys you were talking about standing on those springboards, and then suddenly the springboard starts to sag, you know, and then you kind of have to hit upwards instead of being able to hit downwards. And you just want to make sure that everything works the way it should, and that means a lot of preparation. But everything you need to bear up at this discipline is coming up in a short clip right now.
Springboard. Springboard simulates the traditional way of felling trees, climbing up over thick roots. First, notches known as pockets are chopped into the log. 2 springboards are then anchored into these pockets. The athlete then climbs up to chop through a 27-centimeter thick block of wood in the fastest time possible.
And we're ready to rock. These are the 4 heats that we're going to get to see. It's Meyer against Leroux, Prieur versus Marshall, Meurice against Moore, and then finally in heat number 4, Courteau taking on Puy-Barré.
So Guillaume Moore in this case has the advantage of going just before Puy-Barré and not against him this time. So that'll be interesting for Puy-Barré, because then he can look at what kind of a heat that Moore did in this one, with the 2 of those guys being 1 and 2 in the discipline, or in the overall standings.
But is there any way you can use a tactic in this discipline? I always feel like you just have to go as fast as you can. But judging the way you looked at me right now, there are certain tactics that you can bring into the game.
I mean, throw an axe at the other guy while you're cutting your... no, really. It's such a difficult discipline. You have to be on point with everything. Your cutting has to be really on point. Your aim, your power, everything. And setting these pockets is the key.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So we got a nice 4-hit pocket there by Christophe Leroux as he's up on his first board. The board is sagging a bit, but the first board is not as important as that second board. He wants that second board to be absolutely perfect. Now he's got 6 hits in on that second pocket. That's acceptable. He needs to get that placed, and that metal tab at the end called the tooth needs to really bite in. It doesn't look like that's going to hold his weight as he gingerly goes up onto that top, and that's going to sag heavily. I can barely see any of the bottom tongue holding in there, and you can see the sag on his board is significant, and that means that he has to step up really close to the block. It also means that he doesn't have as much power going into the drivers at the top, but right now, he's not worried about that. He just wants to cut so that he doesn't go past the out time. But it's a troubling board, and I really hope it doesn't slip out, because it's sagging significantly. Meyer is still working on that second pocket. He just doesn't feel comfortable with that situation, and these guys have a certain amount of time before they can actually, before they have to finish, and then that time will go out and they'll have a DQ. So Christophe Leroux is cutting on the first side, but he's got a mega sag on his board. And if we're looking at it from our perspective here, it's leaning down about 15, 20 degrees off
at least, yeah.
And he's doing an actually okay job on that top block to get through, but he wants to get through deep on the first side, because when he switches that position, it's going to be an uncomfortable position and a very strange angle on the backside of the block, as both of these guys are working hard to try and get through as deep as possible. They've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds to cut it complete through, and after that, the time will be exceeded and they will be disqualified. So they are now just getting close to the 2-minute mark, coming in at 1:59 and change, 2 minutes. They've got 30 seconds to get through. Christophe has got a deep cut on the first side. He should get through onto the second side, but you can see he's fatigued. He's very, very tired.
He was cutting straight hits in on that first side, and now he's getting there as the time starts to run away on both of them. And will we have a time for either of these guys? 20 seconds, 10 seconds left to go.
I truly believe
I
they
can't
can
watch.
do
It's
it.
hurting
Oh,
my
wow.
feelings, both of these guys. We may have a time for Christophe Leroux. He's got to do it in 3
Yes.
seconds, and he's done it. 2:27.65, and the time limit exceeded for Julien Maya, unfortunately. So that is our first DQ of the day. And
I was about to say finally, but of course
nobody likes to see
yeah.
the DQ, but that is a tough, tough discipline. And this is the perfect example. You've got two fantastic timber sports athletes up on those blocks, and they struggled. I mean, these guys are the creme de la creme, as we said off the top of the show, and they struggled. You could see how much effort it takes to get up there, and just how incredible that time from Sterling Hart really is. If these guys, I mean, I will be...
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a DQ on this stand because it's out of time, and the good cut on this stand.
So I was just saying, I will be happy to see the guys go under a minute here, but this is an extremely difficult discipline. There's so many things happening all at the same time. You have to have a perfect pocket. The timing has to be right. You have to have a good position on the board up top. You have to have the confidence in the board up top, and that's what we saw with Christophe
I'd be so scared
Leroux.
when we saw those dropping springboards.
Yeah.
Very brave men here. That's, I mean, look at that position.
If we get a closer look at some of these boards later on, you'll also see that they have a metal tab at the end. And under the tongue, there's a tooth that you know, curves upwards. And they have to have that tongue in a position on a flattened part of the pocket that they cut, so that the tooth will cut into the angle and hold on. And that's where the stability from the board comes from. If any of those factors aren't in play, if the tooth isn't in deep enough, if the tongue isn't holding on to enough of the wood, if the tooth isn't biting at all, it will continue to slip and slip and slip until it finds purchase, and then you'll have a saggy board like we saw with Christophe there. So unfortunately for Christophe Leroux, it was a saggy board. But fortunately for Christophe Leroux, he managed to get it off 3 seconds before the cutoff time.
And that means we go directly into heat number 2 between Anthony Prieur and Cyril Marchal. Age 41 and 43, that's a great age for an athlete because they've got a lot of experience, and experience is one of the keys in the springboard competition. So let's see how they manage.
This will be the first time for Anthony putting a board into competition here, because he does not have a previous best time as Cyril Marchal.
Okay,
1:17.72.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Anthony Prieur on the left-hand side of your stage, Cyril Marchal on the right. Just passing 6 hits for the pockets there. So here's a situation where we're looking at Cyril Marchal. That looked like a good pocket to me, but he didn't feel it. He went in there and did a couple more hits. Now he's up on the board. He's got a good board. He's staying close to the tree to try and get a couple of nice accurate hits. Anthony Prieur looking very good. He's got himself a good second pocket already. Let's check the angle on this board as he gets up there. It bites nicely, so the confidence seems to be there. Look at that back foot. Not all the way back, but nearly there, as Anthony Prieur looking very good on the board. Cyril Marchal gingerly worrying about that wiggly board. He's got a nice board, but he doesn't put his foot all the way in the back, so he's not using the board to its full advantage, and that gives the advantage to Anthony Prieur, definitely, as he's chipping out very nicely on the top of the block, as both of these guys are just getting near the 1 minute mark and passing it here. So you can see the board starting to flatten out for Cyril Marchal, but that's okay. A flat board is not the worst thing. They've got good position, but Anthony Prieur with a very nice board, and he's got the angle. You can see he's using that back leg. He's using his hips. He's using his arms and shoulders all together, and that means he's not going to get as tired as Cyril Marchal, who is so close to the stand that he's got to choke up on the axe, and he's not getting the power into those drivers that he could. Looking pretty good, though, for Anthony Prieur as he's cutting the far side of the block now just to clear away some of that wood. I think 2 or 3 more drivers here, and he should switch to the other side on that awkward angle.
Now, hopefully, he's cleaned up enough on that first side to make himself feel good about it. Cyril Marchal has switched over to the other side with a ton of material in the way as they're closing in on the 2-minute mark. Now, we saw that Cyril Marchal had a best time of 1:17, so we know he can do this, but Anthony Prieur looking very good for his first time out in competition. He's going to drop that block in a good time of 2:03.53, and that's going to be a personal best for him and a starting point to work from. And there we go, Cyril Marchal, not happy with that little extra piece of wood on the top there, took a baseball swing at it to get it off, but they both have times in the books.
Huh? Unbelievable. That's the most important thing, to get those points.
That was a horse race right there, jeez.
I'm exhausted just by watching. But a personal best is always a personal best. That's brilliant.
And right now, Anthony Prieur's personal best of 2:03.35 has him at the top of the springboard results. Both of these guys are just gutted, and Cyril Marchal will be extremely disappointed with that time. And you can see those teeth and those tongues of those springboards.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, those cuts are good.
So Rada Kasaku with the thumbs up for both the guys, and they will exit stage right. Exit stage right already.
L'année dernière, pour sa première compétition nationale, il avait pris la 9e.
So here you can see, this is Cyril Marchal. He had a good pocket in my opinion. He just wanted to clear out a little bit more wood, and that cost him time. Anthony Prieur looking very good on his second pocket. That was about a 6-hit pocket, I'm going to say. There's Cyril Marchal setting his second board. Now, for me, it seemed like his board was okay. Now, you can see there he's got those metal bars and the tongue and the tooth of that thing set. There's Anthony Prieur. He's got good position on the board at the top. You can see he's got that back foot almost out of the back of the board. He's using the entire possibility of his stroke there. I mean, if he put his foot back just a bit more, because he's got a perfect board there, the whole thing is shaking though, and that's a little bit of a mind bender for the guys that are up there 2 meters off the ground with a sharp instrument in their hands.
But that's beautiful pictures that we're getting to see.
Look at this, look at that. That right there says what that block's thinking about Cyril Marchal, yeah? That's perfect. That block didn't like him, and he didn't like the block either.
Vice versa.
At the end of the day. So that was a tough one for Cyril Marchal at 2:11.22. That's quite a ways off his best pace. Yeah.
To me, it looked like both of the second pockets were not too bad. Both springboards had, to me, it felt like a good position. And still, you felt both athletes couldn't really work it the way they wanted to work the wood.
Well, I mean, the springboard is as much about confidence as it is about skills. And we saw that Cyril just didn't have the confidence in his board. He had a good board. It was more or less parallel, but he just didn't step back out on the board and use his back leg and his hips, yeah?
Why didn't he? I mean, I'm going to ask him afterwards.
Let me see if I can crawl into his brain and figure it out for you.
That's what I've got you here for.
That he probably saw the pocket and the board go in, got up on the board and felt a little bit of a sag, and then thought, oh, I don't know. And that's where the headspace starts to play a role, yeah? But he was so close to the stand that he had to really choke up on the axe, but he's got so much power in his upper body, he still managed to get the time. But at the end, when he went to the other side, he was exhausted, and you saw what the block said to him, right? On the other hand, Anthony Prieur, his first pocket was very nice, very quick. The second pocket, I counted about 6. I might be off by maybe 1.5 hits there. But his second board was very nice. I mean, he had a big angle as he stepped up onto the board. The sag was perfect, the tooth bit. He stepped back. He had about this much space at the back of the board where he could have taken a little extra step over and really used his whole body and, you know, swung in with the hips, the back leg push, and using his upper body as well.
And not having to move up on the axe so much.
Yeah, and I mean, he wasn't really choking up on it that badly. You know, I didn't think he was choking up on it all that much at all. But, you know, had he been way out there in the back, he could have put a lot more power into those drivers for sure.
Absolutely, and to give you a bit of time and to me to have a bit of a rest before we get into the next 2 heats, we've got some pictures coming up for you right now.
Je m'appelle Johan, je suis arboriste grimpeur depuis une dizaine d'années. Je travaille sur le secteur de l'Aube, vers Aix-en-Othe, dans le fin fond du pays d'Othe. J'aime bien le matin. Avec ma chienne, on part au travail. On se donne rendez-vous au local assez tôt pour pouvoir charger le matériel à deux. Vérifier un peu nos cordes. Sur le chantier, on arrive à deviner si l'arbre est vraiment très sain. Quand on est en taille raisonnée, en général, il y a peu de surprises. Mais quand on commence à démonter un arbre, c'est qu'il est dangereux, en mauvaise santé. Il faut bien le lire avant de grimper. Quand je commence à quitter les pieds du sol pour grimper dans l'arbre, on est à 20 mètres de haut, à 15 mètres du tronc, juste tenu par 2 petites cordes. Et c'est cette adrénaline-là qui est très intéressante et que je recherchais. J'ai jamais eu peur. C'est de l'appréhension. Fait qu'on va prendre toutes les précautions pour travailler en toute sécurité. Double ancrage, toujours la longe. Pour être arboriste, il faut être passionné. Il faut être sportif, avoir une vie saine. Quand c'est humide, l'écorce glisse. Les cordes sont trempées aussi. On a beau être attaché comme il faut, c'est compliqué de garder un peu son équilibre à certains moments. Physiquement, le corps, il en prend vraiment un coup. Ça m'arrive assez souvent avec les clients qu'ils ont une idée en tête de rabattre un arbre parce qu'ils sentent qu'il est trop haut, ils ont peur qu'il tombe. Alors je suis là pour les rassurer, leur dire que l'arbre est sain. On peut essayer de faire une autre méthode de taille, une taille raisonnée, où l'arbre reste naturel, beau. J'ai toujours voulu travailler dans le respect du végétal pour penser à la génération future. C'est dans ma nature de faire cohabiter les arbres et les hommes.
Saint-Bonnet des Joues, Euroforest Fair, STIHL Timbersports French Pro Championship. We're ready to rock. Everything is getting into the final and decisive phase, and I'm starting to feel it a bit. Honestly, I am.
Yeah, the stands are ready for our last 2 heats up on stage. Almost, they're still working in the background a little bit. As you heard Bart say earlier on, we're still fairly early in the season. We've just completed Great Britain's national championship a week ago at the Melbourne Fair, and we're here yet at another fair in France. I mean, I walked for, 30 minutes from one end of this place to the other to get to the site where we're doing the STIHL Timbersports French National Championship, and there is a ton of stuff to be seen and done here. It's insane. The people are just falling over themselves to try and get over here and get seating. I mean, we have people sitting behind us on our stage here. They're excited about timber sports, and there's lots to be excited about this season.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of timber sports coming up, so let's take a closer look at the next competitions. Rookie World Championship in Rotterdam, that's what you talked about, together with the International Women's Cup and the World Trophy that we've already seen. Benelux Pro Championship was the same weekend, the British Championships you talked about. Now we're at the French Championships, European Trophy coming up in Poland.
Looking forward to that one. Trophy format is so fun.
Live stream on that as well. On the 3rd of September, we've got Seefeld in Austria coming up. On the 3rd of November, the Team World Championship in Stuttgart. And of course, on the 4th of November, can you hear the drum roll? The Individual World Championship in Stuttgart, and that's going to be a cracker.
It's going to be epic. The 6-discipline Individual World Championship. I mean, it's like what we're doing here today, except just louder. I mean, it's in the arena, it's loud, it's proud, and it's all good.
the best of the best will be here. The best of the best in France are about to find out who's going to be on top of the podium. Springboard heat number 3 might be a decider as well. So we've got the next 2 contestants, Alexandre Meurice and Guillaume Moore, up on stage already, trying to get a good time, trying to collect a lot of points, because whoever collects the most points at the end of the day will be the new French Pro National Champion. And there's, I would say, 3 athletes still in the running.
1, go!
Allez, c'est parti pour ces 2 garçons. Le but est très vite.
Oh, that's a beautiful set of pockets for both of these guys. Alexander Moore taking a little bit of time to check his board. Maurice, on the other hand, was up quick. He's got a bit of a saggy first board, but who cares? As long as that second one's in place. That's about a 6-7 hit pocket for board number 2. And he's up there. He's a slight man, so he has the advantage of not really working that board too hard. You can see it's barely springing at all. Guillaume Moore, he called him Alexander earlier, my fault. Guillaume Moore is setting his second board now and moving up onto the top as they get to the 40-second mark here.
Now that is impressive. Look at the stroke.
That's a nice looking cut there from Alexander Maurice, as he has got himself a nice deep side on the first side of that block up top. You can see his board is very nice and solid. Guillaume Moore, his board is good and solid as well, but he's tired already from setting those first pockets, and a busy day for him today, and he's not getting those chips off. He had a little bit of a twist there to try and get him out to make some room, but Alexander Maurice on the second side already trying to get it under the 1:30 mark, and he may well do that. He's going to do it. Yes! 1:18.14 for Alexander Maurice, so he's at the top of the leaderboard for springboard right now. If Guillaume Moore can get it done in under 2 minutes, he will be right there in second place. He's got some time left here, and he's doing very well. And he needs these points. He absolutely needs these points. He's getting close to that being done. A couple more drivers should do it as he gets to the 1:41 and 71. And a good catch on his way down to keep that block safe from getting away from him. Now, this is a very important point. The block stayed attached to his axe. He needed to hold on to that axe. If he let it go, that would have been an instant DQ for him.
Imagine that. You're exhausted, you know, not focused 100% anymore, and then this happens to you. Would have had a great time. Boom, but there's
Guillaume Moore with a 1:41.43 plus 21 seconds slower than Alexander Maurice, who was just fantastic there.
Okay,
and we're getting there.
Both got good.
Beautiful stuff.
Guillaume Moore has just taken over the top spot in the overall standings with 55 points. However, Pierre Puy-Barré has
only
49
6 points behind, yes.
So he basically just needs fifth place, and he's fine. But even 6 will be okay.
But imagine a DQ. Whoops.
That would be a disaster, but stranger things have happened. So we take a look back here. This is Alexander Maurice.
That's brilliant.
Just fantastic second board. Look at that. A quick check. He had that book in there, and I mean, his board was set. The only thing that you can see happening a little bit is the board surfs some, yeah? That's okay. He knows he's got a solid position in there, and that's one of the reasons why there's those 2 straight bars underneath the tooth. But Alexander Maurice just really did a great job. Guillaume Moore had a couple of sticky chops there, you know, where they got stuck in there. You could see a lot of material hanging on, and he had to wedge or wrench the axe to just get the pieces off. What's important here is that they don't wrench the axe at the last cut. That's really important as well. And you can see how tired these guys are after that. That is physically draining and mentally draining as well, because they're so high up with those axes and there's so much going on. And that's a great catch right there by Guillaume Moore. Very well done.
One more heat try, the final one to decide this discipline. Adrien Courteau against Pierre Puy-Barré.
Check out Puy-Barré's time of 55.07 seconds. And
only man in the competition under 170.
He is not a small man. I mean, he is a big fella. I think he was 108, 110 kilograms, a meter 97 tall. He is a beast of a man, but he is so fit and so good at these disciplines. It's
to
insane.
Your timber. 3, 2, 1,
just have to think about it. 110 Ks on that springboard. Oh, wow.
4-hit pockets by
nice.
both of these guys. Oh, wow. A fantastic start by Courteau. And here comes Puy-Barré. Sticky axe to get into that first pocket cut on the top side here.
Looking good, looking good.
6-hit pocket for pocket number 2. He needs to be solid on this second one as he sets that board. That's the key board as he gets up. The first board was a bit saggy. And now, Puy-Barré on that top board, looking good. He's not out as far back on the board as he could, but he's so
massive
powerful on the
strokes.
top there. Courteau sets his board in, but it's sagging a little bit. It's starting to move its way down with each driver, and hopefully that doesn't come out. They're keeping a close eye on this board
this
from
man is a
Courteau
beast.
as it's sagging.
Oh my God, look at that.
Puy-Barré is just going bananas in the top there. He's definitely going to be under 1:30 as he switches to the other side of his block already. This should be a good time for Puy-Barré.
Best time by Maurice, 1:19.53. I'm sure he's going to get that.
I don't see how he could not get it as he's got one more driver to do it, and he's got the best time of the day, 1:06.55. So now, Courteau is the man that needs to be in underneath the 2 minutes and 30 seconds as he is just getting to 1:20. He's good and deep on that first side, and we should see a score from Adrien Courteau. He should switch to the other side after cleaning out the front side of that a bit, and then now he switches. There's that awkward angle, choking way up on the axe, trying to cut through the backside. 1:40. Time is running away now. He's got time to get through though, so he should have a good time. If he gets under 2 minutes, he should be in 4th place here, and he should be able to do it with 10 seconds left to go. And that's it. That's his 4th place right there in springboard for Adrien Courteau. A very nice result for the young man.
And of course, he makes it through to the 3rd round, but oh my word, how good was Puy-Barré? And in total points, he's up by 12 now before we go into the hot saw competition. Puy-Barré, Maurice, Courteau, and then Marshall. That's the top 5 in the overall ranking at the moment.
Yep, and Prieur will be in there with them. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we will clean up that stage. We'll take a look at the slow-mos, and we'll get ourselves ready for the final discipline in round 3 of the day. There you can see those pockets from Pierre Puy-Barré, and also an absolutely fantastic run from Adrien Courteau. A quick check by Puy-Barré on his second board, and he gets up top there. Look how agile the big man is. I'm unbelievable.
110 Ks, you know, just jumping up there.
I might have given him a little bit of extra weight, but he's a big, strong boy. And by no means is he fat. You can see those arms.
Le chat, le quête, huh?
There's that final driver.
It makes it look so easy. You know, say, let's see what time I got.
And he barely even looks like he broke a sweat. I mean, the guy is a phenomenon. And there we see Courteau. He was running hard there, but he did a great job to keep it under 2 minutes. So that was a fantastic job as we take a look at the springboard final results here.
Puy-Barré, as we mentioned, with 16 points on top of the boards. Maurice with a great time of 1:19.53, claiming 14 points, and more with 1.43, also taking home 12 points, which gives us a possibility to look at the overall score and to find out who the top 6 athletes are that we're going to take through to the 3rd and final round, which of course is the hot saw.
All right. So here's where it gets interesting as we look at the second round results of springboard and how that affects the guys going into the overall and who will be eliminated. And there you see it. Puy-Barré, Maurice, Courteau, Marshall, Prieur will all be going on to the hot saw, our make or break discipline. It's still all to play for, but really it's the top 4 guys that have a distinct chance, the top 2, 3 guys that really could do it. So it's all to play for. Still 18 points up for grabs in the hot saw. And again, it's man versus machine, machine versus log, and everything versus timing. So it's really, I mean,
Gilmore is still there. We've seen it happen so many times in the hot saw, you know, but you make one mistake, boom, the points are gone, maybe you get a DQ, so he is still in great position, but of course, the big favorite, Pierre Puberet.
Puberet, I mean, you know, the guy is consistently solid throughout the entire thing. He's just fantastic. Everything that he's done today has been methodical. It's been more or less perfect. He's made a couple of small mistakes here and there, but nothing major. He's stayed consistent throughout the entire day, and that's why he's atop the rankings. But Guillaume Moore is right there. At the moment, Guillaume Moore has 53 points to Puyebare's 65 points. If Puyebare makes a major flub in this hot saw, a DQ, for example,
we've seen it happen.
We have a chance for Moore to move up into that top spot and take his first national championship title.
And of course, we have our video judges. Let's not forget about them, especially with the hot saw coming up, you know, that everything works the way it should work so that we have fair conditions. Maybe we can take a short look what they're up to now. Let's see. There they are, having everything under control. And I mean, how many monitors, how many systems do they have to work? It's unreal.
We've got Noord van Leer there. We've got Jules Janssen in there. I mean, you can see all of those monitors are attached to, and you can see multiple views on that one monitor from Noord. They're high-speed cameras that measure in thousandths of a second, so they can go through frame by frame at 1,000th of a second to see if a guy jumped the start, if he was faster up onto the block than he should have been. They can see if it's over the line just slightly. They can look at the hand positions on the block at the top.
Sign corrections.
Exactly.
Everything, yep.
The hands need to be over top. There's a center line on the top of the block, and all the fingers need to be over that line before they start and grab their saw. And the other thing that's very interesting about the hot saw is it is a cold start. So the saws are started, they're warmed up before the heat goes, then they have to turn off the stars, rewrap that, turn off the saws, not the stars. They have to rewrap that starter cord, get everything ready, and then, only then when the saw is off and everything is ready to go, can they get the go-ahead from our judges. And you can hear them in the background just starting to warm up.
I was just going to say, it's starting to get loud so that you guys know everything about the hot saw. We've put a few details together. Take a look at them now.
These custom handmade race-tuned machines are built for maximum power and precision and to cut the wood as fast as possible in a competition. They are built with a 60 to 80 horsepower single-cylinder two-stroke engine, often taken from a snowmobile or high-powered motorbike. The hot saw can weigh up to 30 kilograms and its chain rotates at over 250 kilometers an hour. The cost of a competition hot saw used in STIHL Timbersports is upward of 6,000 euros. Hot saw. For the hot saw, power saws are called into action and the athletes have a space of 15 centimeters to cut 3 complete discs off a 46 centimeter thick wooden block. Jumping the start or cutting over the line will result in a disqualification.
Wow.
Right.
Yes.
Ready to go.
Almost ready to go. The hot saw, you know, it has caused so much pain. It has caused so much joy to us and many athletes. Is that why they call it the maker or the breaker?
Absolutely, it's the maker or the breaker. It's the last discipline. It's the third round. The last 6 athletes are still in the mix here. So what we have is a possibility for the guy that was at the very bottom of the list, if his points are sufficient enough, and if all of the other 5 athletes have a complete mess, DQs, slow times, non-starting saws, you name it, that guy potentially could go to the top of the rankings. But there's a lot going on here with these super-powered motor saws, and I believe that we're going to go backstage and have a look at some of these saws being warmed up. Before we do that, though, we should point out that there's 2 different types of engines primarily that these guys are using. There's the Rotax motor and the Wankel motor. The Wankel motor. What a weird drawer. You say it enough times and it sounds weird. The Rotax, you'll hear, has that really high-pitched whiny sound. It's like me. It's super loud. The Wankel, on the other hand, or maybe I have that backwards. The Wankel has that lower pitch kind of deep growly sound. You'll see a couple of different bars on these saws as well. You'll see the long straight ones, and you'll see ones that are a little bit more bulbous through the middle. My opinion is the bulbous ones have a better hold of the chain, which is another factor, because when that motor is running, the chain actually stretches and moves away from the bar. So if it's a long straight bar and you just happen to tap the block on your way over, the chain could come off, which is a very dangerous situation. It also causes major problems for your time.
So that was the technical side of it. I want to show the emotional side of the maker or the breaker, so take a look at this.
This is the one and only discipline where the athletes are alone on stage.
Yeah, probably the most important event, but yeah, also the most frustrating.
These saws are so incredibly powerful and dangerous.
Usually the hot saw is the decider.
Hot saw, hot saw.
Like I can't describe to you when we're out there under pressure.
Saw starts well, first disc looks solid, cut is good.
You know, you're always ending the competition on a hot saw, so you know where you're going to be at when you finish. So you're either at a real big high or just is what it is.
Nice clean cuts, easy, relaxed.
Der Hot Saw ist für mich die geilste Disziplin der Welt.
5, 6, 8, Robert Ebner, 3 on the deck.
Hot saw is a love-hate for me. I honestly don't get that much enjoyment out of it. I'm not a motorhead. I swallow my pills and eat it.
Once the competition comes, anything can happen. Oh no, a false start by Sterling Hart. What a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disappointment for me. Happens though, it's part of competing.
I saw there's 3 good discs there, but then let that nose come right up underneath the crossover line.
Unfortunately, a disqualification.
It all relies on the hot saw.
Oh no.
Irgendwie soll es einfach nicht sein. Und dann springt die Hot Saw nicht an, wieder mal.
Oh man, that is a bummer for Robert Ebner.
What are you taking away from this event?
Oh, probably last place. I don't know, headache. Yeah, shit hot saw. What else do you want?
If you have bad luck or if you did wrong, it's part, just your experience.
Oh my goodness, what an absolute disaster, the chain came off.
I was not disappointed because everybody see that I can be with the guys in front.
It was a bit of a disaster, so it was just operator error, and I yeah, didn't perform as well as I would have liked to.
Nice safe cut.
Oh no! Oh no!
Never prepared for that situation, but luckily it started and I got 3 wheels and now I'm the world champion.
Yeah, it's the make or break event, you know.
I think you love and you hate it.
Das ist eigentlich immer ein geiles Ding. Ich schneide immer sehr sicher.
Oh, great start for both of these guys. Look at how quick it's going for Robert Ebner. Oh my God, Robert Ebner, he's got a world record. Holy smokes, folks.
Ich wollte das Ding heimbringen, ich wollte Weltrekord schneiden und ich danke meiner Familie zu Hause und alle, die mich unterstützt haben.
Just try to make 3 good cuts and no disqualification.
The hot saw is where it's all won, so that's the best event.
And there you see the back lot where the guys are warming up and getting their hot saws all set. I mean, these are just beasts.
It's not just watching them, it's hearing them. And I mean, this is quite a distance from our studio to the backstage area. And it's still so incredibly loud. I love it. I love it.
It's insanely loud. If you're a gas head of any kind, you'll love this discipline. They've actually done some demo disciplines with these saws at freestyle motocross events in Germany. I've had one of these saws in my hands, not operating. It's heavy. You had it in your hand too. I mean, Danny's saw is just a beast. It's just an incredible monster that these guys are using on stage. And wow, I mean, what do you say? And it's just that they can operate and cut 3 discs. It's just amazing. It's absolutely fantastic.
It is absolutely fantastic. It's time to take a look at the start list. 6 more athletes competing, and we're going to take a closer look at them now. Prieur taking on Marchal in the first heat, Courteau against Meurice in heat number 2, and of course Moret against Pubaret, the one we've all been waiting for in heat number 3, for us to find out who's going to take home the crown, who will call himself Le Roi de STIHL TIMBERSPORTS in France in 2023.
And again, it's not an elimination heat, it's about the time, so that is really important for these guys. Now, we're going to just sit back here and watch these guys. We'll try and set it up for you. We'll tell you what's going on with each of these guys. But you can see, you know, our previous world record is an insane 4:45. It's an absolutely unbelievable time. And these guys seem to be pretty relaxed on stage as Anthony Prieur has a bit of a giggle with Bart Janssen. There's Cyril Marchal, who had a struggle on that springboard before, so he wants to make up a little bit of points here in this hot saw.
And I think they all just want to perform in front of this fantastic crowd, you know.
Yeah, I think they all just want to perform with the hot saw running and cut 3 good cookies. Basically, if it takes 5 seconds
7,
or 8
10,
seconds or 10 seconds, they just want to have their 3 cuts.
So I've just been told we have one more hot saw to be warmed up, which of course means that we still have a bit of waiting time.
And you can see we had a really quick picture of those shoes of Cyril Marchal. I really sincerely hope that those are some lucky golf shoes, because quite honestly, they're sort of horrendous. But anything that helps you stay...
do it. Go on.
You know, anything that helps you stay grippy on the ground up there,
Harvester.
especially with these beasts in hand.
And we're getting to hear some drama here on our in-ears, because Pubaret's hot saw obviously doesn't want to start backstage, and that's exactly what we talked about. You know, this could be just one of those mistakes. Imagine him not being able to go out there and to compete, then we'll lose the title.
Well, what did we see in Great Britain? We saw a heat that came down to the possible 3rd place position, and the guy forgot to put his starter switch on.
Boom.
He pulled the cord. Why did it start? Wrapped it again, pulled the cord, it didn't start. Realized that the starter switch wasn't on, and by the time he rewrapped and pulled the cord, he was DQ'd for timeout. So that's a rough position to be in, and it's just small mistakes. It's mental as much as it is physical. But unlike the stock saw, these saws require power as well in the operator.
So as you can hear and see, the first heat is about to start.
Huh? I can't hear you.
I'll show you with my hands. The first heat is about to start.
All right, now interesting to note here the blade or bar position on these 2 saws. You can see on the left-hand side, that's Anthony Prieur on stand 1. He's got a more or less parallel bar, and Cyril Marchal has a machine that's been adapted slightly with the bar angle, I'm going to say 15 degrees up. That will give him a cleaner lift, getting it up into the block. How it operates when it's in the block is another story, because you can see the exhaust pipe on that comes quite far into the bar location. It's not going to impede his cut or anything like that, but it is a factor.
It is its own science, isn't it, hot saw?
Yeah, and I mean, these saws can each weigh, 5 kilos different, so these guys have to be on point.
Timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, good. Not bad at all.
Prieur with a 9:16 personal best. Cyril Marchal a 7:66. He did struggle on that second upcut, so that may cause problems. Hopefully not a DQ, and hopefully he's got a full cookie, but he did tag it on the way up and had to reset and recut.
Yeah, look at our judges taking a close look.
And I tell you what, folks, you shouldn't blink in these disciplines, because you might just miss something.
Oh my word, the first of 3 heats.
So discussions going on by Cyril Marchal as they are looking at the block, at the cookie, and there you can see the missing pieces. That's where that saw came up and tagged it. So I kind of feel like that's going to be a DQ for Cyril Marchal.
But of course our video judges are going to take care of this as well, you know, because
the video judges definitely play a role here.
If the cookie dropped and then lost a piece, no problem.
Yeah. That's the difference, though, because we know that Cyril, there's the flag, so they're going to go to video check, and they'll probably do a video check anyway, just to be on the safe side. They want to make sure that it's all safe. They'll be in contact with the Competition Control Center. But it's not because the cookie. It's not because the cookie was incomplete. It is because it's an incomplete cookie, but it's because he went up and tagged the bottom of the cookie, so he didn't have a full clean cookie. So if he'd gone 1.5 centimeters over and cut up so that there was a completely round cookie, it would have been a different story. So just that little tag coming up at the bottom, you can see Cyril is not happy about the decision here, I think.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a DQ. The disc was incomplete, and a good cut on this tank.
So the personal best by Pierre, he'll take that to the bank any day of the week. Marshall, not happy, and he'll definitely be talking to the judges a lot about this one to make sure that he knows exactly what the situation is for the future.
But that's why we have a video control center taking care of it.
Look what happened right here. So that's a great first cut from Cyril Marshall. Okay, well, that's... there's that position again. We'll hold on this one, I hope. Great first cut by Cyril Marshall on the upcut. Tag. Yeah, he misses it, then he repositions and cuts. So, but he didn't cut far enough over to make sure that he did a full, complete circle.
Okay, I'm with you. But it's exactly what he talked about. You know, that's why we have the video replays. That's why we have the judges. It's a fair sport, it's a tough sport, and it's an exciting one as we go into heat number 2 with Adrien Courteau and Alexandre Maurice.
Now, Alexandre Maurice has a very nice personal best of 6.46. He did a fantastic job on that springboard. Second place, I believe, in springboard with his time. Let me just double check that. Yes, he had second place in springboard with a very, very nice time. So he'll be going up against Adrien Courteau, who also did a great job on the springboard. He fought and fought and fought, and he battled through, and he didn't give up, and he made it in under the 2-minute mark, so that put him in third place in the springboard. And so now he has an opportunity to gain some good points here. His personal best, 10.71. There he is. And look at him. I mean, he's a tall kid, but he's no bruiser, that's for sure. But that's the direction that the athletes are going these days. If you look at the majority of the French athletes, there's nobody that's really out of shape. I mean, we see guys.
Very true.
We see guys that are 120, 130, 140 kilograms that have a little bit of a muffin top, but the boys are still fit, you know, and they can still move like cats. It's unbelievable. But the general trend for these athletes is to go towards more lean, more strong, more supple, and more flexible.
Especially after having seen the rookie.
Yes, unbelievable. So there you hear the sounds, and you know, when it's idling, it's like the minute they pull that trigger, though, you should have a clean, consistent run of the motor. If you hear any of that poppiness in there, that means the motor's not running clean, and that has the potential of the chain being slower than it's possible 250 to 270 kilometers per hour, which also means that you may have trouble with a clean cut. So these look like two pretty evenly matched saws from setup and everything. I believe they're both Rotax motors. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you, though.
But I mean, if you take a look at the rookies watching the pros now, this must be so motivating
to your timber.
to get into all of this excitement with that thrilling crowd.
Go!
Oh, slow start.
Oh, big cookie. Holy moly, look at the times there. Courteau with a 7:55, personal best Maurice with a 7:23. They were very close, but those were some fat cookies. Holy moly. The question now is, did anybody cut over the line? Okay, we got a thumbs up on Adrien Courteau, his block. No flag on the play, so we should have two good cuts.
Ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
Yes, we do. Alexandre Maurice with a 7:27 at the moment has 18 points, and that puts him in second place just ahead of Adrien Courteau, who has 15 points, and Anthony Breuer is down in 5th place with 12 points in the overall standings. As we look back at those cookies, look at that size of that first one. I mean, thin to win, there's a reason for it. It's because you don't have a lot of space. But that last one was very nice. That last one was very nice from Courteau.
But talk about playing with fire.
Oh, man. And the middle
the power
one,
of that machine.
The middle one for Marshall Maurice was also very good. That last one was a bit chunky.
So that, of course, means before the last heat, Pierre Puberet is still leading. So only Guillaume Moore has the possibility to claim gold from Pierre Puberet, and that's going to be a tough one because Puberet has 65 points at the moment, and his opponent Moore at the moment having 53, so 12 points difference. But of course, it is possible.
Yep. So we heard over the intercom here that Pierre Puibaret's saw wasn't starting in the back there. We heard that there were a few problems with it. And we can see as he's coming up on stage, he's also bringing tools with him, and that's never a good sign. That means there's still maybe something that's going on with his saw that could cause problems. You can also see that his saw is ultra high performance. It's a very busy motor if you compare the way it looks to the saw of Guillaume Moore. Now the saw from Guillaume Moore apparently was performing flawlessly. So right now I think it's going to be more about if Pierre Puibaret's saw starts and where his headspace is at.
Oh, for sure. It's not an easy position.
No.
And if we do our maths right, because he gets 16 points for the win in this round.
18.
18 points.
Even better.
15 for the second, 12 for the third. And there's 12 points difference between Puberet and Maurice. So even if if Puberet gets a DQ, for Maurice, for Moore, 12 points would be enough, so the third best time.
Yeah, so if Puberet gets a DQ and Moore gets 3rd place, then he's got the championship. If Puberet doesn't get a start, or if something really goes wrong and he ends up down below 4th, then Moore has an opportunity to still win it, but he would need to get 2nd or 1st.
That is crazy. I mean, Puberet comfortably with 12 points up front.
Yeah, I wouldn't say comfortably at this point.
And still, there's no comfort to feel.
He knows those points are there, and he knows those points are up for grab for Guillaume Moore. He also knows that he had trouble with his saw in the back, but this time it started flawlessly, so there's no issue. But it's, like I said, never a good sign to see an athlete bring that saw on stage with his tools.
And of course, we know for Puberet, you know, only a win is what he's aiming for.
Yeah.
What is he, a 7-time national champion, a 5-time?
I think he's an 800-time national champion. The guy is a phenomenon, like I said. It's unbelievable.
And ready.
Stand to your timber.
Here we go.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh my word! Does he not feel the pressure?
That was a massive first cookie by Guillaume Moore. He had to hang and really point that saw in the right direction. Puberet with a 6.58. I don't think there's any question there.
A second look to make sure if the cookies are...
It's an incomplete cookie for Guillaume Moore. Oh no, that's going to be a DQ. Flag on the play right there. Oh, that is heartbreaking for Guillaume. I saw it right away because he got the saw started nicely, lifted it up, but he floated over too far, and then he rethought the position, and the first cookie was so fat and cut at an angle, and then he didn't have a lot of space for his remaining cookies.
And did you see Puberet take a look at his cookie?
Yeah, look at this here.
Because he was so close to the blue line. Oh my word, so much drama in that last heat.
Can you imagine if both of them get DQs?
I can.
Oh, that would be interesting. Puberet would still have won it, I think.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
I think basically...
But he was checking his line. Guillaume Moore, I think, has an incomplete cookie, but we'll wait for the judges.
I'm pretty sure about that as well.
And they're checking, of course, if the blue line has been...
deep onto his as well. This is going to be a very, very tense situation coming down to the decision zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a DQ on this stand. The cookie is incomplete. And the good cut on this stand.
Oh, Puberet with the best time of the day, reclaiming his title.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the slow-mo back again because I really want to see Guillaume Meur, because that first cut was just an insanely big cookie. Let's have a look here again. So here's the start, Guillaume Meur. Now watch what happens here. He swings the saw over, has to reposition, and then look at the angle of that first cut. He's angling into the block. Here, Puy Barré gets a very thick first cookie, a very thick second cookie, and then he really has to be on point with that third cut, and he came so close to the line at the bottom.
That's what he was checking.
Insane,
You know,
and that's what they were checking. They were actually crawling underneath there like it was a car. So there is the first cookie. The second cookie is incomplete, and he comes up, repositions for the third cookie. It was very thin, but he took a long time to get through there. He was really fighting it. And it was just a problem for Guillaume Meur today in the hot sauce. So this is the area where Guillaume Meur needs to do the work. Everything else is pretty solid, except for maybe his stock saw.
It's the saw. Puy Barré taking the win in the hot saw discipline, claiming the 18 points. So Maurice on second place with 15, and Courteau still grabbing 12 points. 2 TQs in this last discipline. But of course, the one list that we want to see is the overall results. So there we have it, Troy. The old king is the new king. Le Roi has done it again.
Pierre Puy Barré, Alexander Maurice, Adrien Courteau, 1, 2, 3. And look at that, Guillaume Meur just outside by 4 points, excuse me, by 2 points in fourth place. So no bridesmaid position for him this year either.
But you know, just imagine him taking all the time in the world, just cutting those 3 cookies. He's up on the podium. No doubt
Guillaume
about
Meur,
that.
fourth place, I mean.
Yeah, but because of the DQ, he didn't make it to the podium.
Correct.
So if you don't get a DQ, you know, because we talked about tactics, if he takes his time, just as one, does his 3 cookies, boom.
Yep.
He's up in the ranking. Correct. He's not going to take home the win, but he's going to claim silver or bronze.
Yeah, no DQ, and he's on the podium
not
for
on
sure.
The podium, and that's the maker of the break.
Yep.
It is crazy. It is the climax to every STIHL Timbersports national competition, and again, it's proven to be, I don't know, unbelievable. And we thought, you know, Puy Barré going into this comfort lead, 12 points up in the lead. No, it was drama. Backstage, the saw was not working. Yeah. He was there. He almost had a DQ, you know, just...
I mean, they crawled underneath that block like they were crawling under a car to change the oil. They were looking at that line that close. And I mean, he was really close to the line because you saw that last cut was at a bit of an angle, and you got to really be careful.
Yeah, you just seem to be traveling on those last few centimeters.
I mean, in that stock saw, you've got 10 centimeters. In the hot saw, you got 15 centimeters. But in the stock saw, you're only cutting 2 with a saw that's much easier to navigate and manipulate. In the hot saw, you've got all this machinery moving, the whole thing shaking like this, and you got to position it and put it on the block. And I mean, you can see these 2 very powerful men on stage struggling to try and find the alignment for that saw because there's so much activity going on inside that motor. It's a beast. It wants to run away on you. And then immediately when you put it on the block, it pulls you towards the block like that. I mean, it is a monster saw.
You should see what's happening while the athletes are on stage, because there's even more movements here with Troy. I have the perfect present for you, by the way. It's almost an hot saw. Please take a look at this. Pierre Buberé. He's done it again.
Chapeau.
Yes, well done. What a competition. 83 points total at the end of the day. The runner-up with 59 and bronze medal with 55 points. So
that's a massive lead.
That's incredible. That's fantastic. That's, yeah.
I mean,
more than
once
we
again,
expected.
Once again, Puy-Barré proves why he is the national champion year after year after year. He's consistent throughout everything. He may have a little bit of a poor discipline in stock saw, but he comes back again in the single buck, and you know, he just continually tends to perform and keep that consistency, and that's really what's made him the champion that he is over the last years. Now we're seeing a lot of guys that are coming up. Guillaume Moore is a perfect example. He was right there. He put the pedal to the metal in the underhand chop and really made Puy-Barré think about it twice, you know, but Puy-Barré stayed calm, he stayed collected, and he did the job, what he needed to do today, absolutely.
Oh, some nice scenes coming up on the screens now. Before we go over to the winners ceremony, there's some prizes for our audience. And they had a great day, didn't they?
They did. I mean, the sun is shining, some people had beverages out there, the family was with, the dogs were with, everybody was chilling. We've had a good time, you know, the people started to sneak in behind us here and sit down on our heels and stuff.
Very enjoyable.
So, you know, we definitely felt the vibe here today in France. There's no two ways about it, that it was good, exciting action on stage, and the audience was excited too.
And we're very excited to be able to hand over to our colleagues for the winners ceremony that's going on stage right now. I hope.
À notre manager général STIHL pas STIHL, pardon, Timbersport, notre coach Nano Portier. Nano, viens nous rejoindre aussi, allez, hop, à ce baby. Regardez, le staff STIHL s'est enrichi.
So all 12 athletes will be called up for this winners ceremony now. 12th position, Geoffrey Eder, 8 points. In 11th position, Corentin Gaudin, having claimed 11 points, also 11 points, but position 10 because he was a little bit faster, Élie Pagin. In 9th position, Pierre-Louis Poiseau, 12 points. Julien Mayer in 8th position with 27 points. Christophe Leroux in 7th with 29, 38 points for Cyril Marchal. Great competition. Besides, in 6th position, he ended up in 5th position with Anthony Prieur, 45 points, and in 4th position, Guillaume Moore with 53 points, and that's DQ in the hot saw as we await the final three, the top three, and I believe the winner's ceremony for those three coming up in just a few seconds.
Une très belle ville qui va accueillir les championnats du monde, une ville de sport. Pour l'instant, je ne peux pas le dire. Allez, Chantal, tu viens nous rejoindre. Florent, pareil. Le staff STIHL.
Ça va toujours, vous avez chaud?
Estelle Garzino, responsable du projet communication pour la société STIHL. Il y a des femmes, t'es venue en famille, Estelle? J'appelle également pour venir nous rejoindre Monsieur Patrick Pagès. Est-ce qu'il est avec nous? Oui, Monsieur le maire de Saint-Bonnet-de-Joux. Vous avez eu du boulot cette semaine, hein, Monsieur le maire. Merci d'être avec nous pour remettre les récompenses. Et puis, le directeur du Salon Euroforest également avec nous, Monsieur Richard Lachaise, à qui je vais tendre le micro quelques instants. Je le tends, Madame la responsable de la presse. On a un petit moment, un tout petit instant. Monsieur Lachaise, avec une belle édition 2023.
L'édition 2023, c'est effectivement encore une très très belle édition qui a commencé sous la pluie, mais qui se finit avec un temps magnifique. On a battu des records du nombre d'exposants, avec 415 exposants contre 365 en 2018. Et on a également battu le record de fréquentation, puisqu'on est à 42 000 entrées. Donc c'est une très très belle édition. Chaque édition, on est très heureux d'accueillir la société STIHL et le Timbersport, qui représente une très belle animation. C'est une organisation parfaite, comme on l'est.
Voilà, on va remettre tout de suite le podium. Pour des raisons de télévision, on va faire monter tout de suite les 3 premiers. À la 3e place, j'appelle Adrien Courteau.
Allez, il est content, il avait une petite revanche à prendre sur l'année dernière. Alexandre Meurice à la 2e place.
À la 2e place de ce classement, Alexandre Meurice. Le Bourguignon vient rejoindre son camarade de club. Ils ont 2 Bourguignons au sommet du classement. Et le vainqueur, je te le laisse annoncer.
Allez, c'est compliqué pour moi parce que c'est tous mes amis. Mais c'est vrai que c'est un exemple pour nous tous. C'est un super capitaine d'équipe. C'est le champion, Monsieur Pierre Puy-Barré.
Voilà, et comme je n'ai pas les ordres pour le reste du classement, on m'a dit de faire monter les 4 à 12 sur le podium. Venez tous, les concurrents, les autres concurrents, venez nous rejoindre. Allez, tous ensemble.
Geoffrey Hébert à la 11e place, Corentin Godin à la 10e place, Élie Pagin à la 9e place, Pierre-Luc Voisin à la 8e place, Julien Meyer à la 7e place, Christophe Leroux à la 6e place, Cyril Marchal à la 5e place, Anthony Prière et à la 4e place, Monsieur Guillaume. Tellement de sentiments, tellement de sensations de voir tous ces amis gagner comme ça. C'est juste exceptionnel d'avoir les 12 meilleurs Français, de les côtoyer toute l'année, de vivre cette aventure sportive avec eux. Vraiment, c'est des gars en or, c'est une équipe, c'est une bande de copains. C'est juste la classe à l'état pur.
Alors, dans le protocole, normalement maintenant, nous avons l'hymne national. Je vous invite à enlever les casquettes pour l'hymne national français en l'honneur de Pierre Puy-Barré, champion de France 2023. Bravo à tous ces champions. Félicitations à ceux qui sont sur le podium.
So this is the part of the day that all these guys wait for, the champagne shower at the end.
Fantastic.
Yep, always fantastic to see that. A good time was had by all, but a best time was had by Pierre Puy-Barré, clearly, as another championship notch goes on his belt, and he can go home with, I don't know what number championship this is. We'll have to do the calculations later. It's like 90 or 100, something like that. It's ridiculous.
It's definitely time to say goodbye from Saint-Bonnet-du-Joux. Troy, it's been an absolute amazing adventure here in France.
Yes, it
I
has
really
been.
enjoyed it, and to say it with the words of a famous colleague, Lothar Matthäus, I respect you very much. It's been absolutely great.
Thank you so much.
And I can't wait till Poland. We'll be back with another live stream. Hopefully you guys are going to join us as well.
European trophy. Oh, yes.
Hashtag Timbersports, highlights of the day coming up, and we'll hopefully see you guys very, very soon.
Ciao, everyone. See you.